Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is another exhilarating edition of the Court Martial Podcast. I may have used that adjective before, but goddammit, I am not a thesaurus. Welcome to the Court Martial Podcast, the one and only place to find the best commentary made by smarks for smarks. It is Full Gear 2021 AEW pay-per-view review. I am your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty, here as always to deliver the spice that's oh so nice, the commentary that's oh so scary, but not scary enough to sound like Michael Cole. And with me, as always, Michael Cole. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to him. The only reason I'm doing that is, well, you'll see in a second, and you'll hear from him in a second. The man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. He is the Bay Area brawler himself, Skyler Greenberg. Welcome to the show, buddy. What the hell is this?
It is, well, you see, it's your boy, JoshAgeddon. This is a simulcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Simulcast?
Absolutely. I have my recording equipment pulled up on my laptop. This is also for the TAP, the Totally Awesome Podcast. We're reviewing Full Gear, and I don't know where Skyler is, but, I just got an email. I just got an email, Sean.
Dang. Where's Michael Cole when you need him? This is his opportunity.
I know, right? I know, right? But we are actually going to have the return of an old gimmick, old hat. Improper, barely legible grammar notes. Skyler Greenberg is in the building. We both got some notes, I believe, for AEW Full Gear, and we're going to be, because Skyler could not join us tonight. He sends his apologies.
Yes. Now, the funny thing here is going to be, I have these notes at the ready, and because I feel kind of obligated, I gave you an intro. I gotta give Skyler an intro for Grammar Note Sky. Take it away.
I cannot wait to see this shit.
All right. So, first line. It is first of all, it is TAW and CMP notes for Full Gear 2021. Here is the first line. What's TAW and CMP? I don't know. We're podcasts. That's what we are. That's whatever. Well, TAW is a channel. CMP is, of course, the podcast. I thought as a co-host he already knew that. Very confusing, to say what's TAW and CMP. I feel like he ought to have known that to deliver these notes. But I'm sure he meant what's up.
He meant well. We'll give him an A- for effort.
That's right. So what is TAW and CMP? It's me, Skyler Greenberg's notes, here to reclaim my gimmick of making notes from these two idiots. You see, that's not nice, Sky. You see, when I created this gimmick, it was pure, simple, and a gimmick that belonged to me. Then these two came in and stole my gimmick and perverted it.
And fucked it into the ground.
Uninteresting bullshit to say, and a lack of care for the work put into it. That's right, folks. JoshAgeddon and Sean are the Alexa Bliss to my Fiend.
Wow.
I don't know if that necessarily puts you any more over than us, Sky.
Sean, I'm more hurt by the idea, the assertion that he put effort into these notes than anything else.
Well, if I'm the Alexa Bliss, does that make you Lily?
I hope so. I am full of stuffing.
Oh, wait, this gets better. And now I'm picturing both of you wearing Alexa Bliss's demonic sexy dresses and have scarred myself for life and provided nightmare fuel for the next 3 months. Bitch, I look sexy in that shit.
That's not nightmare fuel. That's like jerk-off material right there.
You're welcome, Sky.
Dude.
You're welcome.
I would love to be Skyler's little toy.
Anyways, in all seriousness, I am so sorry / not sorry to have missed a review of AEW Full Gear and will instead have to settle for Sean yelling at Joshua every time that he says he likes something on this show and raising my blood pressure to concerning levels. I don't know why he thinks I hate AEW. I don't. I do not hate AEW.
I feel like in between me and him, you were very much in the middle.
I really try to be as impartial as I am with WWE with AEW. So if they do stupid shit, I get mad at it. If they don't, I praise it.
Yeah.
what it is. What AEW is what AEW is at this point. Thank you, Sky, for further adding to what I was saying. And unless you are into indie wrestling tropes that come with AEW and the bullshit it entails, this show would not be for you. There's only so much bullshit I can put up with, which is tested incredibly early on in this show and continued through the entire night with some breaths of fresh air in between. Now let us get down to a business about a show that would not end. On that statement, I agree. 4 hours, I don't care what wrestling company you're talking about, too long.
Yeah, this show was very, very long.
Too long. It's just, I know, at least to AEW's credit, they only do this 4 times a year.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. They don't have one every month. Or remember last year when they had SummerSlam and then a week later was Payback?
Oh,
brutal.
And Payback was terrible, if I recall.
It was. I actually liked it better than SummerSlam in retrospect. It was just the main event that was awful.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to move on. What are your overall thoughts now that we've got Skyler's monologue here finished up?
Now that I'm finished hijacking the show?
That's right, which I'm still mad about. And, while we're on this subject, what'd you think about the show?
I did not think it was as good as All Out. All Out the last pay-per-view they did, I think was one of the best shows that AEW's ever done. This was not quite as good, but I still very much enjoyed it. There were 2 matches that I did not care for.
Agreed. Yeah, I would say that my perspective is pretty much the same. I didn't hate this pay-per-view by any stretch, right? There was obviously the full things of the matches. All the matches just went way too long. That's just my personal preference. They just jammed 10 long-ass matches onto this card.
And a bunch of random stuff in between.
Yeah, and so as a result, that kind of takes the shimmer off it for me a bit. But as always, there's a good show wedged in a ton of filler.
Oh, yeah.
That's always been my role with AEW, is there's a lot of stupid filler. And I will say this kind of to start this off. There has never been a pay-per-view where my eyes have glazed over mid-match more just because of how much was done.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to where it was we'll get to that as we move on, but there was just, it's something I'm noticing with AEW is that there's sometimes when I just have no choice but to tune out.
This was one of these shows where I was just like, this feels like the person who books the show is an epileptic because there's so much just moving around all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into this, and now we've got another set of general notes that Sky has put in for his analysis.
Does that make him the general note manager?
It very well could, but that also, well, general notes, and then it's in parentheses me, so am I general notes? Or that's his name. That's the gimmick name right there. Father is General Notes.
General Notes at your cervix.
General Notes Sky. You know what?
Please make his catchphrase at your cervix.
Perfect. General Notes Sky at your service.
No, not service. Cervix. Because he hates women.
Oh, Sky. Oh, we love you, buddy.
Oh, I love you so much, Skyler.
We love you. All right, here we go. You're such a good sport for putting up with our content. However, I do think that General Notes Sky is a game-changing gimmick name.
Oh, it absolutely is.
That's terrific. You're welcome for that. Before I get into the review proper, rather than listing this in each match, I will mention the tropes I noticed all night to save space. Commentary all night was awful, which I disagree with, actually.
Honestly, for me personally, I think I didn't have a problem with Excalibur or Shivani. JR needs to retire. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the next line. JR should retire. Tony Schiavone should return to the old people home, and Excalibur should be burned alive.
Wow. He needs to be put back into the stone.
With the mask, I agree with. Great reference, by the way, but I will say the mask can be burned alive. I still hate the mask. I will always hate the mask. He can call himself Excalibur. That I don't care about. but just the mask. Get rid of the damn mask.
He looks like a dork.
I don't care. It's wrestling. Who, at this point, is that really that big a deal?
I don't know.
Is it worse than the mask? How bad could it possibly be worse than the mask? We all got used to Kane.
Yeah.
And now he's running Knox County, Tennessee, so... Anyway, refereeing all night was also awful, which I do agree with. Can somebody please shove pedo glitch bot Justin Roberts off a cliff? Ray Phoenix's introduction broke my computer.
Yeah, I can feel that. I feel that.
Yeah. Why does everyone have someone come out to the ring with them? The amount of people standing outside makes me question AEW's social distance policies. I didn't really hate that so much because they only did a couple interference spots, but it was weird where people stayed ringside and who didn't.
Yeah, I would agree.
But we'll get to that in just a second.
There's one in particular on the show where I don't understand. Like, I understand what they were going for, but it just feels so unnecessary. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, for sure. This was a long show with 6 of the 9 main card matches going 20 minutes and the shortest being Punk versus Kingston. You could have shaved 5 minutes off from each match besides Punk and Kingston, and this show would have been easier to get through. Totally agree with that.
I agree with that as well.
And the people got burnt out after 4 matches, and that is kind of true.
Oh, absolutely. The crowd was exhausted. Like, just skipping ahead a teeny bit, during the women's match, they were trying really hard, but the crowd was gasping for air.
Yeah, the crowd was trying really hard, too.
Yeah.
They wanted to cheer so bad. I mean, there's no knocking. The true AEW diehards are truly diehards, and they make loud noises. And I do really appreciate how enthusiastic they are, no matter what it is they like, which I may not, but they are always very reactive.
Oh, yeah. It's just the show's too long.
Yeah. You just need to cut this off. And then... as of right now, there's going to be a fuck you Tony Khan counter because his booking sucks, which is kind of true. Did you watch the pre-show?
Sorry.
That's a yes.
No, I did not. Absolutely not.
And Sky said Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa versus Jamie Hayter and Nyla Rose. Ahem, fuck the buy-in, skip this. Next match.
Sounds about right.
Which means I guess it's up to me. And what I said is, no pre-show for you.
No pre-show for you.
Right along. No pre-show for you. I did not have the time. I was just not... I was already going through 4 hours. I was watching this straight on a Monday night.
I do not care. I do not care.
It was not a match that I wanted. I love Thunder Rosa, and I like Hikaru Shida. But I was not interested.
Yeah.
So, we start with what I thought was one of the top 3 matches of the night, in no particular order. And that was Darby Allen and MJF. Your thoughts?
I also thought, this is definitely in the top 3 matches of the night, because there were 3 really, really good singles matches on this show. And honestly... I don't want to say this was the 3rd best match on the show because it was a really good match, but it was a fantastic opener. You know how much I love Darby Allen. It's been well documented. I love anything that's even remotely edgy.
True.
And Maxwell Jacob Freeman is absolutely fantastic at everything he does. And
also,
I, just straight to the point, the finish of this match, I adored. It was such a heelish thing to do. I adored the finish of this match. And everything in between was good as well.
Yes, I would say that of all of the finishes of the night, this was probably my favorite. Which kind of sucks, because then everything else definitely lost a little bit of shimmer. But that's not to say that this was match of the night. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't, but it's definitely, top 3. It's hard to place it.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of good in this, but there was also a lot of good in a lot of other matches that kind of had a different tone, which I do have to give AEW credit for. Every match has a different tone to it, which WWE does not have.
Nope.
At WWE, you know what you're getting every match. cut and paste, plain cheese pizza every night, no salad dressing on your salad, plain lettuce.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you get.
Also, just saying, MJF delivered the absolute most beautiful backbreakers I've ever seen in this match. The backbreakers he gave Darby Allin in this match were just... I was salivating. Especially that powerbomb onto the knee. That was so awesome.
Well, what I really loved about that is that was used as a framework for his heat all match.
Oh, yeah.
And they were all different kinds of backbreakers. You didn't see the same backbreaker twice, but you knew that was what he was going on. And I was really, really disappointed that Darby Allin did not sell his back more in this match.
Yeah.
For as many backbreakers as he took, I thought that was a bit disappointing that he was not looking like he was actually broken in half for longer than whatever long it was before they just got up and got ready to do the next thing.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with you there, especially considering that not only did he do a coffin drop on the apron and bounce right off the apron, although I will say that even though it's insanely risky for him to do that kind of a move, he's at least smart about it, because if you watch him carefully, he puts his arm out to bounce off the ropes a little bit, so he's not just hitting the apron just flat with no break. So he knows what he's doing, but my God, the coffin drop to the outside was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, here before we get to that, I have to backtrack us just a second, because I just looked at my notes. What was this Darby Allin package before this match? Where he just drove off like a rock and, like, got into an accident and walked out of the accident and walked a little bit further and then got, like, I did not understand any of what contextually that was supposed to do to enhance his edginess.
I don't get it either. I mean,
I did not understand that. And then Sting shows up and picks him up.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, like, the whole time he had this dude who has a picture of MJF, like, tied to his, like, taped to his face. And then he, like, kills him in a car accident and throws a Molotov cocktail at the car. And I'm just thinking the whole time, but that's not MJF, though. You just killed a guy with
You're just committing murder.
You murdered a guy who was just wearing an MJF mask. That's someone else, dude. Like,
because that's what edgy clowns do.
At least focus your anger on the right person.
Yeah, man, that was ridiculous. And then Sting. Let's talk about Sting for a second. Sting comes down literally just so Tony Schiavone, when JR prompts him, goes, "Hey, Tony, who's that?" And then Tony, "It's Sting!" And then Sting leaves.
Oh my God, speaking of JR.
Fucking real.
Speaking of JR, my absolute favorite part of this match. Did you catch this? You know how Darby Allin, MJF, Jungle Boy, and who was the other person? They're considered the 4 pillars of AEW. Mm-hmm. Did you hear what JR called them?
No.
He said they are the 4 pillows of AEW.
Oh no. Landing.
Yeah, he called them the 4 pillows, and I had to pause. I had to pause the show.
Sleep. You gotta get a good night's sleep when you're wrestling at a match of this magnitude. And thankfully, there are the 4 pillows right there.
God.
So, you want to sit there. MJF's like, "Here, come lay on me," and then that's the rest is history.
I would love for MJF to lay on me, but besides the point, when he said that, I had to pause the show. I was laughing so hard.
That's pretty good.
That was amazing.
That's pretty good.
It was glorious. It was beautiful.
Yeah. This is and then they do this whole thing with the pins, the pinfalls, the fast pinfalls where MJF has pinned Darby Allin's hands to the ground, and then they do the one arm they lift up, and then MJF puts it down, and another pin, and then Darby Allin lifts the other arm. It got a little silly. It was still a contest, but it still got a tad silly. But the fans loved it the whole time, but I thought that the whole beginning of this was just a little too much, too fast, but then they slowed it right down, and I didn't care anymore.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree, because I've seen these kind of beginnings and matches before. It just didn't bother me, but I get it's something that's not for everybody.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm like, the fight feel just takes a teeny bit of that away. I understand. They're doing it well. I'm not knocking either of them. I'm saying the spot I didn't love, but the people are no way to blame for that. Did we get a collar and elbow tie-up? We are doing a counter.
I believe so in this matchup.
Yes, we did. And I will tell you this. AEW impressed me tonight with the amount of collar and elbow tie-ups we saw.
And another thing, speaking of that, one thing that they did in several matches, they would go into a collar and elbow, shove each other away, and then go back into another one. Like that they're trying to fight for control. They don't do just one collar and elbow tie-up, and that's it.
Yeah, somebody must have mentioned this to them. Or maybe just the influx of really quality talent is changing how some of these people work.
Because I can tell you, when I was in high school, I did amateur wrestling. And you start off with the collar and elbow tie-up, and you fight for control. You don't immediately just go to a side headlock and then go on with the match. You're fighting for control. So getting out of that and getting back into it for a better position is what actual wrestling actually entails. So
yes,
it has the amateur wrestling JoshAgeddon stamp of approval. Now you're thinking of me in a singlet.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
Skyler.
When I was at Andrew Jackson, the high school I went to, the singlet was orange. Just imagine me in an orange singlet and a wrestling helmet like Michael Cole.
Hey, I said Michael Cole was here today, so I wasn't wrong.
Now the only thing missing was me wrapping bubble wrap around myself.
Well, and there's no proof that you didn't do that. Did we get a Tope Suicida count? I'm going to give a Tope Suicida count today because I wanted to see how many Mamma Mia moments we would have had if a certain Morgan Allen were on commentary instead.
We had one in this match, and it was the best one of the night.
Agreed. And this is something, here's my big groundbreaking statement. For those of you who have heard me talk about Darby Allen over the years and what I've believed in him and what I saw from him before, I have come around on Darby Allen.
Wow.
I have come around on Darby Allen, and the reason why is that when he's in there with somebody who can work a solid match, Darby Allen lays in his dives more than anybody else. He lays in all of his work. His punches are okay. They're getting better by the day, but this dude has improved significantly from the time that I saw him before. And I've become a fan. I've honestly become a fan of Darby Allen.
I think it more depends on the like you said, it depends on who he's wrestling, but when he has the right partner, he can do some amazing things. But yes. I will say, as someone who loves Darby Allen, he should be in a cruiserweight division. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not even his size that gets me at this point, because that is what it's gonna be in modern wrestling. And I don't really care about that as much anymore. However, I do hate the pantyhose and the jorts. The jorts I don't even care about, but the pantyhose gets me.
It's a emo goth thing, so it's not for everybody.
I know. I don't know. Maybe I'm over complaining, but that's always been my complaint with his look.
Yeah.
But in any event.
Well, of the three of us, me, you, and Skyler, who is the emo goth person? Your boy.
True.
In his orange singlet.
I had a phase of that, but I ended up kind of changing my game up. But we saw Darby give a figure 4 here, and my first thought was, what, is Cody not going to do a figure 4?
No, he did one later in the show, or tried one, and the crowd hated him, which we will get to. One of the most hilarious things on the show we will get to later.
Yes, absolutely. And then we get to one of the things I hated about this show. It was the first of 6 or 7 major injury angle apron spots. It was like every match had a major move on the apron, and it was just so unnecessary. And this was the worst of all of them. This apron tombstone pile driver should have been something that hospitalized somebody, and somebody wanted revenge months after they recovered from that. Instead of somebody just coming up and just doing the rest of the match, which there was still another 7 or 8 minutes of.
Remember when Kevin Owens used to powerbomb people into the apron and that would send him to the hospital?
Yeah. Good times.
I miss those times.
That's always been my biggest complaint with AEW. It's so much, it's too much, and it's going to be a problem when somebody's going to get seriously hurt trying to innovate something so far past the level of human athleticism. And it's something that AEW it's going to have to reckon with eventually.
Yeah, I would agree that they do a ridiculous... Again, we said it before, it feels very schizophrenic watching the show. As someone who likes AEW, the show's very schizophrenic because they're trying to do so much all at once. And it's not just on pay-per-view, it's on Dynamite and it's on Rampage. They're trying to do 80 different things on a show that only has room for about 40 different things.
Yeah. And then, 1, 2...
Whoa! 1, 2... Oh!
1, 2... Whoa!
That didn't bother me until they started spinning around like frickin' Sonic the Hedgehog.
It looked like CIW spinny pins. By the way, subscribe to Colonial Impact Wrestling. And it was spinny pins all over the place. And I was like, okay, this is a little bit...
If they did that, like, if they did the switch once or twice, it would have been fine, but they did it, like, 10 times, and then they started rolling around so much that I thought, like, Jim Carrey dressed as Robotnik was going to walk out on stage at one point.
He walks up to the ref. Are you in charge here?
I'm in charge! Me!
I'm in charge.
What's your name? Aubrey Edwards. Oh, who cares? Nobody cares. That is, I love that movie so much.
That movie, go watch the Sonic movie, everybody. It is worth your time.
It is a treasure chest, ladies and gentlemen.
It is 100% worth your time. I'm so glad we got a reference in.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was just a hair much.
Yeah.
And but MJF, but you know what was not a hair much and was just enough and probably the best selling of anyone all night was MJF and that knee.
Oh yeah, his scream is so good. It just he raises his voice several octaves, and it feels like someone who's like who thinks they're about to die.
Yeah, it was the best. I haven't heard that much whining since Flair. And that's a compliment. That's genuinely a compliment. And no, he's honestly great. And the way he sold it, the rest of the match, it didn't look like it wasn't bothering him for it, the rest of the match. And I honestly thought, as convoluted as it was with the whole pin predicament, that alone was so much better than any of the previous garbage. It really, MJF knew how to bring you back into the moment.
Oh yeah, I agree.
You know, that was really the best part of that. And and the finish, like you said, the finish was great. Why don't you tell them how it went?
So basically, at the beginning of the show, I mean, I didn't see this, but apparently on a previous episode of either Dynamite or Rampage, MJF was mocking Darby Allin's in-ring ability and said that I can beat him with a headlock takeover. And when he gets in the ring before the match, he goes over and shoves the glitch pedo robot, Justin Roberts, and says, say on the microphone that I could beat Darby Allin with a headlock takeover, and he does. So at the end of the match, when the referee is distracted, or actually, did he get knocked down or distracted?
I believe that he got, was it knocked down?
I can't remember. Either way, the referee...
He got distracted because MJF brought the skateboard in, handed it to Darby, and
that's right.
Hit him.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a little odd, by the way. I mean, it was fine, but I thought it was a little odd.
Honestly...
Darby did the babyface thing and goes, no skateboard. Hands it to the referee, and then when the referee goes to put it away, which was great.
Yes.
That was honestly a great finish. And then the diamond ring.
Oh, yeah.
Then he hits the headlock takeover and the pin.
Oh, yeah. That was... And when he did that, I was like, he's not actually going to beat him with a side headlock takeover. And he did, and it was just so... MJF is the best heel in wrestling.
I love MJF.
He's so good.
There's a reason that MJF was my pick number one when I started ACPW versus NWO. By the way, next week, we are not only doing a Survivor Series review, but we are also getting ACPW versus NWL in. So stay tuned for that. It is a double feature.
Also, after that, at some point, when you do ACPW versus NWL, you know what that also means?
Is it South Carolina Championship Grassland?
Your dog got star tune right it is. Yeah!
Yippee-ki-yo, Kanye.
Also, fun fact, Survivor Series is on my birthday this year. What a terrible birthday present. But
so happy Joshua to everyone.
Yes.
And
Jesus Christ, I'm going to be 24 years old.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say.
Man, I remember being 24 years old way back in my day.
Yeah.
24 is the new 15.
It was back before I fucked my sister to death. Anyway, back to the show.
That's how you really know it's from South Carolina Championship Grassland.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I thought this was a great match. A great way to open the show. It was a teeny bit long, and they did a little bit too much, and the goofy rolling around in the ball thing was a bit too much. But I thought this was a good opener.
You know, you cut out the filler, and this match was fantastic.
Agreed.
You cut with the filler, this match was really, really good. and so but my final thought was, it feels like the crowd said they fight forever, and it sure felt like they did.
Yes. The crowd got their wish.
But still, a good opener. It was just long.
Yeah, but now we transition. We transition to General Notes himself. He's rallying the forces.
General Notes.
He's rallying the forces, and by rallying the forces, I mean, good lord, these bullet points. Maxwell Jacob Freeman versus Darby Allen with Joshua in parentheses. Thank you, Skyler. Beginning sequence where MJF and Darby Allen do gymnastics for 3 or so minutes was very contrived and stupid. It was two guys clearly working together to help do moves and destroyed the illusion of two guys fighting. I don't think it was that bad. Darby Allen's dives are very impactful. Puts force into them and nearly kills himself every time. And the person he does, he almost killed MJF with that tope suicida, and it should have been the only one on the show, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. We'll trust me, we've got a counter.
Oh yeah. Coffin drop on the ring apron hurt badly, extremely dangerous, and could have broken his elbow. Darby Allen really doing his best Jeff Hardy impersonation, just waiting for the DUIs to start piling up. Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I mean, did he or did he not crash a car before this match started?
Well, it is true. I mean, he killed a guy.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, so did I. So did everyone. But to his credit, at least he can ride his skateboard in a straight line.
That's true. That is true.
MJF's shit-eating grin is great, and it's amazing how he is one of the only guys who gets heat. Good selling by both guys, but especially Darby Allen. Still wish Darby's legs had a bit more muscle so he did not look like an anorexic goth middle school kid. You're talking about me again, Skyler. Tombstone in the apron was nasty, but was the beginning of apron spots all night. I agree. WTF with the rolling ball, the 1-2 whoa stuff is stupid. Agreed. Coffin drop to the floor was so contrived because MJF was not close enough inside the ring for Darby to hit him, but happens to roll out to the exact place he needed to be to hit it outside.
And before we continue, I really give credit to MJF. He did everything he could to make that fall easier on Darby once he started coming down. He did everything in his power to make that as safe as possible. I give MJF a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Even though it did break the illusion, I was like, you know what? Good on you, dude.
Yeah, again, it was contrived, but the alternative is him being in a different spot, and Darby Allen ends up paralyzed.
Yeah, it's not like when Darby had that triple threat with Joey Janela and I forget who, where he did the coffin drop on the barrel onto the stairs.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
That was the same triple threat where Joey Janela did a moonsault onto nobody outside and just crashed and burned like an idiot.
Oh, God.
AEW, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is All Elite Wrestling. MJF tricks Darby out. Well, actually, back up. Sting shows up to collect his AARP checks and beat up 2 younger people with a baseball bat. Sting should change his name to Clint Eastwood because he would have a long movie career.
Which made no sense, by the way, because the guys showed up, there was no hearing of that, and Sting was already there. You didn't even get the camera shot of the guy showing up to interfere before Sting was there. Sting was just already beating him up by the time the camera got over there. We're like, oh, all right, hey, that was happening.
Yeah, but I will say that we have a collar and elbow counter. We have a Tope Suicida counter. Whenever there's an old person on the screen, we need to have a Skyler AARP joke counter as well.
Yes.
We need an AARP counter. Not just during notes, like whenever he says anything on any of our shows.
Yes. It'll be like the swear jar for him.
Yes, it will. The AARP jar. MJF tricks Darby Allen with a skateboard, only to use the diamond ring and winning with a crucifix pin. Good. Not exactly what that was, Skyler, but we'll give you a pass on that one. Was the right way to go. An okay match, but one that shows how stupid things and bad spots can ruin what was otherwise a good match.
Yeah, I mean, I understand his opinion on that, truthfully, because it's like what I said. It's the filler.
Yeah, I somewhat agree with Skyler, but I think that I have the same somewhat issues, but they didn't bother me as much as they bothered him. I
mean, I feel like in Skyler's, he tends to be a bit of a Debbie Downer with AEW in general, but I understand why.
Yeah.
I totally understand why, because it's very similar. Like, I think the problem is a lot of AEW fans and people who watch AEW have this sort of, we don't care because it's not WWE, so we're like, we'll let it slide. And it's a little hypocritical because the whole WWE is the same standard. I don't feel like either, in that respect, but I also feel like that's partially why Skyler is taking the, but he's just so,
and I agree. Honestly, as much as I enjoy the whole AEW versus WWE thing, the fans ruin everything, whether it be wrestling or Star Wars, but that's an entirely different conversation. It's either AEW fans who are like, I don't care if it's bad, it's not WWE, or you have WWE fans who are like, WWE is the second coming of Jesus Christ and they never do anything wrong ever. There's no winning.
Yeah, it's honestly, because wrestling fans generally just suck.
Yeah.
And which is why the level-headed ones of us are doing podcasts.
Yes. And get kicked
nonetheless.
And get kicked out of group chats.
That's right. But no, that's fine. We started our own more condensed group chat, and boy, has that been trimming the fat.
Yeah, and it has the word placenta in the name.
That's right. And how could you be mad at that? Anyway, back to what everyone else knows about.
Shall we move on to the next match?
Yeah. Suckscalibur, as he is now going to be known, is still wearing the mask. The Glitchbot is Glitchbot, and now, oh god, it's the Tag Team Championship match. Even though there were like 3 other tag matches on the night, it was the Lucha Brothers versus FTR, and talk about making sure that, we're going to have the greatest tag division ever. We're really going to focus on the tag division. 2 years later, here's a pay-per-view with 4 tag matches, and the title match is the first one of them.
Yep.
Wow. The more things change, the more they stay the same. It's the Lucha Brothers versus FTR. What are your thoughts?
I said that there were 2 matches on the show that I did not like. This is one of them. I don't know what happened. I used to really enjoy Lucha Bros matches, but my biggest issue with this, besides the fact that the AAA belts looked like they were made out of cardboard, it felt like everything they did was out of order. They were just doing random things in a random order for no reason, and then the match just ended.
Here's the way I would describe
I could not get into this match.
This is how I would describe this one. Well, neither could any of the participants involved. Because this is a clash of styles where the styles that the 2 work are like oil and water to begin with.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, traditional American wrestling, which is what FTR works, and which is what's made them so good in American wrestling, does not mesh with pretty much pure lucha from the Lucha Brothers. And unfortunately, the Lucha Brothers don't really, it's whether they don't know how, or they just can't, or I don't know what the reason is, they just don't work American styles. And when they try, it's very awkward because they're paced differently.
Yeah.
And that's why the pacing of this match never really took off because there was no way for it to take off.
And not only that, there were multiple times where someone just got in the ring without a tag and they were illegal.
Rick Knox, let me tell you about that. Rick Knox, this guy, somebody should just pump the formaldehyde in his ass at this point.
Wow.
He is seriously like, I don't know how, he just literally stands there and jumps and misses everything, or he doesn't care. Or, in the case of this match, was enforcing rules later because it was relevant. Gee, I wonder what that reminds you of.
Yeah.
This is like, honestly, and this is something I'll save that for later.
Like,
one of the problems I had with this, you get the pro wrestlers entrance with FTR and Tully, and they come down looking like bosses, although I don't know how much I love their theme song. I know they're going for 80s, but it could be better 80s.
It's not their NXT song. Not even close.
Yeah. But we go from a wrestler's entrance to the fucking goofy lucha, and then they topple over a Mexican flag doing their 6-dude choreograph, which I'm sure is some sort of offense.
Yeah, I was thinking, did them knocking over the flag, like, make anyone upset? Because that was my first reaction.
I mean, that was the first thing I thought of. And then out come the Lucha Brothers, and I was like, that was a whole lot of hoopla for a whole lot of nothing.
Their pre-entrance intros are just so random.
Yeah, this was bad. This was just bad. I didn't care for this. And again, it was just after that. Did we get a collar and elbow tie-up?
No, we did not.
No, we didn't.
No.
And the reason I'm so dejected by that is, like, this is FTR we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts me that this was, like, maybe, with the exception of that match, that 8-man tag that they had with the Young Bucks when they first arrived, which was god-awful. With the exception of that match, this might be the worst just 2-on-2 tag match I've ever seen FTR wrestle.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, it looked like they were on two... Not that they were, like, on two completely different pages. It's like you were reading a book and someone switched the chapters around. So you have no idea what's happening.
And it kind of felt like these guys knew that. Especially towards the end of this match. I definitely kind of got the feeling like this was not doing a whole lot with the big kickouts and all that jazz. I don't know. It didn't... To me, it felt like FTR was not loving the fact that they were working that style of match.
Yeah, this was not my cup of tea. But I will say, dude, if you think this was bad, there was a matchup between the Lucha Bros and the Butcher and the Blade on Rampage a couple weeks ago.
That sounds terrible.
It was just like this, except 100 times worse. It was so bad. I'm starting to sour on the Lucha Brothers. I'm not gonna lie.
Me too, and I really liked Penta, but it also depends on the environment he's in. Yeah. Because obviously he was great in Lucha Underground because it's exactly what a guy like him needs.
Mm-hmm.
But in this situation, like, Pentagon botched a roll-up early. I was like, oh, dude, it was not good. But I will give credit here to I want to give credit to FTR, but I think that Phoenix really was the one who made this idea work. This was the first proper justification of Rey Fenix's rope play, where he goes up to the corner to do that arm drag, and he's got him held up with the arm doing the thing, but then Harwood comes in for a clothesline to break the legs, and then he jumps up and he misses the clothesline and does the other half of the rope play and gets the arm drag. That made sense for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and it looked cool.
If for nothing else, that spot alone was creative.
Yeah, I agree. Also, speaking of spots like that, I hate the double cutter. I hate springboard cutters. They look so phony.
We saw way too many springboard cutters on the night.
Like, a handspring cutter, like Jay Lethal's Lethal Injection, is fine. These springboard cutters are ridiculous, and I do not like them. Yeah. Especially and this one was the worst one in my opinion because Rey Fenix was trying to do it to two people at once, and whenever they do it like with two people at once, one of their arms barely even touches the other guy, but he has to sell the cutter anyway. It looks unbelievable.
I mean, that was not as bad as Orange Cassidy's pre-show double-leg two-person Hurricanrana that Matt Hardy and friends sold for.
Oh, no.
And I don't even remember the friend. It was just one of them.
Yeah, it was one of those people.
I think it was one of Private Party, maybe. And wow, remember when everyone was like, they're the next big thing?
Yeah. My, how the times have changed.
And then we get this cannonball assist, which was kind of cool, but the rules at this point were about as prevalent as Rick Knox's hairline. So, and then Rick Knox, as they're doing this double submission, which there were way too many of in this show.
Agreed.
With the double submission, Rick Knox counts to 5 and then starts breaking it up. No, Knox, 5 is a disqualification. You count to 5, it's over.
Well, actually, Sean, in AEW, I remember there was one tag match where they got up to 6. So in AEW, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in tag matches in AEW, it's a 10 count to get out of the ring.
You are incorrect, sir. Because later on, they mentioned in whatever tag match it was, I think it was Cody and Pac, and we'll get to that catastrophe. But anyway, they mentioned in the actual commentary that no, 5 count disqualification if you're in the ring for 5 seconds with your partner. And guess who was the referee in that match?
Oh no, was it Aubrey Edwards?
No, it was Rick Knox.
I can't keep track. I'm sorry.
It was Baldy McFormaldehyde.
Baldy McFormaldehyde.
It was terrible.
Can that please be his name? From now on. From now on.
Baldy McFormaldehyde. I seriously, I hated this guy. This guy is the worst referee I think AEW's got.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the rules just don't exist. Except for when, I think it was Ray Phoenix who got a tag, but the referee didn't see it, so the referee finally does his job and puts him in the corner. And I'm just like,
because that was the next thing to do.
At this point, it's so ludicrous because you haven't been paying attention to the rules the entire match. Why are you paying attention to them now?
Yeah. And then we get Penta, after the heat, after finally we get some American wrestling in here in the form of heat, which was like, okay. And then Pentagon basically made his own comeback.
Yeah.
And then the fans, and then he gets a tag, and it was a cold tag, and the fans reacted accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
They reacted for Pentagon making the comeback, but then he tags Phoenix, and everyone's like, yay. Exactly. And the crowd goes mild.
And the crowd goes mild.
And then they do this title belt shot false finish, which was way more deserved by Penta breaking it up rather than Phoenix just kicking out properly. I thought that devalued the belt shot as a finish.
Well, to be fair, he hit him with the AAA belt, and that belt is made of cardboard, so...
I know. Seriously, that belt what was up with those belts?
That's how they've always looked.
Terrible. That's I guess that's top dollar.
Yeah.
That is top dollar. We shouldn't be disparaging. And then, oh god, this was the start of the night. Okay, folks, this show was on November 13th. For those of you who know, that was either Eddie's birthday or the day that Eddie passed. I can't remember which. Eddie Guerrero, that is. And all night, we got tributes to Eddie Guerrero, and normally I wouldn't have a problem with this. But
they did it all night.
They did it all night. It affected the finishes, which I also hated, but I also have a great joke for later.
Oh, no.
And it affected the finishes, but worst of all about this, I wouldn't have a problem with this if WWE hadn't done this every single pay-per-view with these people who do these moves every single show for the past 15 years.
Yep.
If they had not run this man's name so far, beaten this dead horse so that it is nothing but a pile of goo, if they had not done this, I would have had no problem with this. But this has been constant. Let this man rest.
Mm-hmm.
For God's sake.
And you said a minute ago, like, for those of you that don't know, I did not know that Eddie Guerrero died on November 13th. So I was like, why are they all doing Eddie Guerrero references? And then I think, I can't remember who said it, but I was like, oh, he died on this day. But still, it's like, and one thing that you've also said in previous episodes of the show, when you do a tribute move like that, people are going to fondly remember the person you're tributing. It doesn't get the talent over.
No. It just reminds everybody of Eddie Guerrero.
It's the Dolph Ziggler effect.
Yep. And yeah, exactly. That's exactly the right person to use on that. That's how you tell that you and I have done reviews for a very long time.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You're using stuff that I brought up in 2017 to make a point here in 2021.
Oh God, things have not changed. Things have not changed.
Proper booking, sir. But please, no more Eddie. Please, I'm asking the entire wrestling business collectively. AEW, WWE. The Ghost of Ring of Honor.
The Ghost of Ring of Honor.
Impact. MLW. Please.
The Ghost of Ring of Honor, the zombie corpse that's still animated for some reason of Impact.
Please stop.
I agree. It is so tired.
Stop.
It is
Let the man sleep.
It is so tired.
Let the man rest. But, any case, this was long. There was a lot of kickouts. There was... And then they did this double move where Penta's going for the package pile driver and Phoenix is doing a roll-up. Phoenix was rolled up and had, I think it was Wheeler, rolled up for a very long time while Pentagon finally did his package pile driver and got the pin.
Yeah, that was awkward.
And it looked disjointed, and it was about as clashed as the styles were in this match.
Yeah.
And AJ wasn't involved at all.
Yeah.
And this was the problem with this whole thing. They did and then what was with this mask finish?
But this is how FTR won the AAA tag team titles. They dressed up as frogs on AEW, and they won the tag team titles from Lucha Brothers on an episode of Dynamite. So for some reason they got into the ring with the masks on, like at the end of the match. And then Lucha Brothers hit their double team pile driver for the win on the illegal person because the referee, who's completely incompetent, did not know which person was which person. So they pinned.
And that was after.
I know.
That was after this disjointed moment we were just talking about with the roll up and the package pile driver, where they praised Rick Knox for not pinning the illegal man, and then he pins the illegal man to finish the match.
Yep, that was what happened. That is everything we just said is factual. The second they rolled out of the ring to grab the frog mask, I was like, oh my God, can this match just end, please?
This was way worse than it had any right to be.
And another thing, we just had someone walk over, pull something up, and put it in the ring with MJF and the skateboard. We don't need this in every match.
Yeah. Boy, this is starting to remind me a lot of another company.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, but we'll get to that. Would you like to hear how it is time everyone stand at attention because General Notes is here.
Oh yeah,
at
General Notes.
Cervix.
General Noteberg.
All right. Lucha Brothers versus FDR AEW Tag Championships. The AAA belts look so fake. They look like the belts you'd print the picture off the internet, then cut them out and glue them to cardboard. That's pretty much what we said.
Accurate.
Lucha Brother entrance sucks so much. Why are 6 guys looking scared of pyro? That is exactly what it looked like. Eddie Kingston is having PTSD as we speak. They also knocked down one of the 2 Mexican flags and never picked it back up.
I'm glad how we all noticed that.
That was like, I figured that had to have been offensive to somebody.
I know. I couldn't stop laughing during that.
I was like, oh boy, here come the letters.
Oh no.
Now, Justin Roberts rolled his tongue so hard on Ray Phoenix's name, I'm surprised it didn't roll out of his mouth and land inside the ring. That's a good line.
Yeah.
That's a good joke. I bet FDR would have picked it up and tried beating up the Lucha Brothers with it, only to get a 2 count. Very good.
No, you got to give the tongue back to Justin Roberts so he can use it with the minors. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. We have a backslap tag counter. All match, Lucha Brothers 2, FTR 0. I did not do a backslap counter because there were plenty in a match coming up that made up for it.
Yeah.
Phoenix has cash. Hold on. Phoenix has Cash in a submission, while Penta has Dax in another submission, and Rick Knox counts to 5 on Phoenix. Isn't that a disqualification? That's exactly what I said. Ha-ha!
Yeah.
Validation.
Victory!
That's right. FTR's healing is always good, and they make the Lucha Brothers stuff work for the first half of the match. Did they, though?
I disagree.
After the hot tag to Phoenix, the match started to go downhill because all the good heat they'd been building up to was ruined after these two teams decided to go for another 10 days and nights.
They're still wrestling as we speak.
That's right. Match structure lesson for Tony Khan. Shine the babyface, heat spot, heels build heat, false tag, build more heat, hot tag, finish either with heels cheating or babyfaces outsmarting heels. It's remarkably simple, and you would know what to do, Tony Khan, if you weren't too busy inventing women and making contributions to women's wrestling. Fuck you, Tony Khan number 2.
I agree with that.
For anyone who would like the context for his rant on that, check out last week's episode of the Court Martial Podcast.
Yeah, my thoughts on that real quick. Wow, Tony Khan's a dick.
Yeah, and he's trying to use it. He's prick-waving at all these women. And Eddie Guerrero tribute time, because every Mexican wrestler must pay tribute to Eddie Guerrero. I hate this finish of the Lucha Bros and FTR. Mike Knox is a shitty referee. He says this, he put that down because I've said Mike Knox in the past. I have to imagine. We've made this joke before.
Oh, God.
Yes, Mike Knox. And it's funny how of the two of them, Kelly was the bigger star.
All I'm thinking about right now is Rick Knox hitting Kelly in the face with a kendo stick.
Oh, God. Oh, we'll get to kendo sticks.
And then not calling for disqualification.
That's right. Why would you allow FTR to wear masks in the middle of a match? It makes your job harder. It leads to an overcomplicated booked finish. This match after the hot tag was stupid because both teams became invincible and started doing every move known to man. While the Lucha Brothers are not as annoying as the Young Bucks, they do much of the same stupid shit. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it looks like all three of us had the same opinion of that match.
Yep, that was what it was, and that was honestly a shame. That was a diddly darn shame.
Yeah, I agreed.
But the next match, I must say, lived up to some expectations, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It is Miro and Brian Danielson for the number 1 contendership for whoever wins the AEW Championship later in the night.
We need another counter. We need another counter for however many times JR calls Brian Danielson Daniel Bryan, because he did it 3 times during this match, and I laughed harder with each time.
And, you know, I was so accustomed to it, I didn't even notice.
And the worst part is JR's like, and Daniel Bryan, and a few seconds later says, and I meant to say Brian Danielson, and Excalibur's like, we all know what you meant, JR. 30 seconds later, so Daniel Bryan. Thank you, JR.
He's trying. God bless him.
God bless him, JR. But
that man puts up with a lot of stupid garbage.
Yeah, I agree.
You sometimes, and especially you'll hear it later on with some of these later matches, I could hear JR's soul being torn out of his chest.
Respectfully.
And I feel so bad for him sometimes, and you wonder why he sucks.
Respectfully.
When it comes to matches. Like, respectfully, he tries in these matches where he actually gives a damn.
Yeah.
He tries, and sometimes he does really well. There are glimpses of the old JR, but the man is in his 60s, and he's put through the ringer of garbage that if he weren't hired by AEW, he'd be having just as many thoughts, I think, as Cornette would, even though JR's a little bit more diplomatic.
Yeah. I'm just saying, when I'm saying respectfully, I'm saying it like this. Respectfully, please retire. Like, everyone has an expiration date.
Honestly, it'd be better if you were just doing a grumpy-ass podcast.
Agreed. It would be much funnier.
I'd probably listen to you more, JR.
Oh, I absolutely would.
I might even buy some of y'all's barbecue sauce.
Hell yeah!
Damn right. Darn Skippy. Did we get a collar and elbow tie-up in this match?
I believe so. Not immediately, but I think they eventually did do one.
It was very close in. It was very early on. I mean, I think it was like they did first like the Greco-Roman like test of strength real quick. They did kind of a duck and then they went right into it.
And as a former amateur wrestler, I'm going to bring this up every time. Sometimes before you do a collar and elbow tie-up, you'll try to shoot and then go back up to regain control with the collar and elbow tie-up, so it makes sense.
Yep. So
me in a singlet.
I love that. And again, these two, this match was a lot slower paced than most of the rest of the content on this show.
I would agree.
Overall, like in general, like all the way through, this was not very fast. And this was at a point where I realized that commentary on this show was actually digestible on this show, where you cannot say the same with anything WWE produces at this point. Except for Pat McAfee.
Agreed.
Pat McAfee, great.
Agreed.
But everything else you can't listen to. The commentary, for as many mistakes that JR makes, I was at least able to listen to it this time.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, there was only a couple things that I got really annoyed about, and that was mostly Skyler. And
I'm gonna call him Excalibur, but Excalibur.
Yep.
But
because he's a Suckscala-derp.
Yeah, Suckscala-derp.
Yep, that's right. So Miro did some great healing, and then unfortunately they were outside for too long because Danielson did the from the apron cannonball out to Miro, but he really should have broken the count first because Aubrey had to break it herself, and I felt kind of bad because I was like, that was avoidable.
Yeah,
that was really avoidable. It was small, but I catch these things.
Yeah, I noticed it too.
Yep, and then but then there was that great deadlift knee bar into the German.
Oh my God, that was glorious. So he has.
I'll tell you what, Miro should have been like if Miro was like this in WWE, they'd be making money off Miro.
No, they wouldn't. They would.
Well,
no, they would not.
They'd bury him.
They would bury him. They would still do the exact same thing, I am convinced.
But if they treated him like this the whole time.
Agreed. But so...
there would be... I think that they are actually, finally, AEW has turned Miro into something that is you want to see more of.
I will say everything about that spot is perfect because, for one, Brian Danielson, in his AEW run, all of his matches he wins in a different way, which I love.
Yes.
And one of the ways was with a knee bar. So he has Miro in a knee bar, and you're thinking, oh, he beat someone with this move. He might win here. No, Miro he doesn't even get out of it. He stands up. He stands up, grabs him, and heaves him over his head. It was awesome.
I love that.
It was awesome.
Yeah, this was probably the one match more than any that I actually, was impressed with the moves that were done. And then it was really like the power bomb, like the running knee counter into the power bomb.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh, fantastic.
Love
and
these two.
It was funny because this match did not feel AEW style.
They did enough.
Thing I noted about it.
That they did they didn't do too much, they did enough.
Yeah. And it wasn't, and I don't mean for that to say that this felt like a WWE match. No, it didn't.
It did not.
It just didn't feel like an AEW match either. Because it was not a ton. They told a pretty good story throughout. That was, the only thing I don't like was the shot for shot idea where Miro was begging Danielson to kick him. And so Danielson did the kick, and then Miro did the big kick, and the sell was great. That was fine. It was an okay idea, but strategy-wise, if somebody was begging you to hit them somewhere, why would you hit them there?
Skyler just messaged me saying, having fun. Why, yes, Skyler, I am.
Yes, we are having a lot of fun. At his expense, mostly.
Yeah, for the most part. Now I'm going to exit out of Facebook, so no more interruptions.
Oh, well, you say this.
Yeah, I say this. Now my house is going to catch on fire.
That's right. But in any event, there was I liked the shot for shot and what they did with it, but conceptually, I feel like if you're trying to really pose that this was a fight and even if it's simulated combat, wouldn't you not want to hit somebody in the spot they told you to hit them?
Yep.
That's my only complaint. And then they did this weird DDT. Okay, anything else during the match before I get to the finish?
Nah, that pretty much covers it. They worked really well together, and it was hard hitting, and they did not do 185,000 moves. They did what they do what you expect, and they do it very well.
Yeah, they did what was necessary.
And then the finish was weird.
The finish was weird. This was where I thought this match might be like on par with the opener. Just because, like, if the finish of MJF and Darby Allen was put with the overall construct of this match, we'd have one A-grade, A-plus matchup.
Absolutely. 100% agreed. But we had a great match we had a good match with a great finish to open with, and we had a fantastic match with a finish in this match.
Yeah, they did this DDT that didn't quite land, and then Daniel Bryan choked him out with a guillotine.
And Aubrey Edwards called for the bell, the second they touched the ground.
Yeah. And I like the idea, though, after all this, that the DDT was what knocked him out. Yeah. And then the guillotine was just there. Like, that I didn't have a problem with, but this felt like they were told, go home now.
Yeah, I agree. They should have waited a couple seconds, done the arm thing with Miro, and then call for the bell, but they did it way too quickly.
I think they got rushed for time here. That's my suspicion, because it felt like this match definitely had a little bit more to it.
Bruh.
But it felt very abrupt, and I think the reason it was is that they were like, maybe Aubrey didn't get the word, or Tony Khan didn't tell them, but their time limit was coming up, and they had 30 seconds to be like, oh snap, go home. Go home. Dude, I don't care what you do.
If that's the case, then I'm a little upset, because they could have cut out some of the time from the tag team title match or the 8 trillion person street fight later on in the show and given it to this match.
Yeah, but
priorities.
That's pure speculation on my part. I don't want to say that's what happened, because that finish was just odd.
Yeah, it was.
And why would you do that? If Miro's only lost once to Sammy Guevara, why would you have Danielson choke him out? Pin him, for God's sakes.
I agree. I 100% agree. Should have pinned him with the flying knee.
I mean, this is Roman Reigns choking out Cesaro.
Except Cesaro actually passed out, and the referee didn't call for the bell the second Roman Reigns put the hold on.
Well, and also Miro is actually going to remain on television after this moment.
That is also true.
I would imagine. And oh God, I hate how right I was about that.
Yeah.
I hate how correct I was about that whole thing with Cesaro.
Depressing.
It is depressing. But what's not depressing, hopefully, is what Skyler McGreenberg has to say. General notes, stand at attention. Almost said General Oates.
General Oates. General Oatberg.
And Skyler is now making a bowl of oatmeal as we speak.
Remember when I said that Skyler was like Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z? He morphs every 5 minutes just like Majin Buu.
Oh, I thought he converted all his family into oatmeal and ate it.
Probably. So anyway, Miro versus Brian Danielson for the finals of the number 1 contender tournament. Brian Danielson has a major shiner under his right eye and can use steak on it. He's not, because he's a vegan. They are telling a good story. Big man heel versus smaller babyface. Of course, this match is going to be good given the guys involved. It is amazing.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Before you can move on, you have to say that word properly, sir. You have to say it as it's written.
Which word?
This match is gonna be good.
Gonna be... This match is gonna be good given guys involved dead. It is amazing how AEW does so many gimmick match that when you do regular one-on-one, it stands out on tippy toes. Alright, I'm gonna stop.
Skyler was gonna be here. He was finally about to bone his girlfriend, but then he heard he had to do the podcast, and she told him there was no way.
And then afterwards, he put back on the yarmulke.
Oh, for definite, friend.
Skyler's gonna murder both of us.
Yes, Skyler, we are having fun.
My favorite wrestling move is Yoragi. Oh, Jesus. Oh, no.
Continue.
Oh, God. I don't know if I can. It's amazing how... I already said that. Brian and Miro have worked before in WWE, but never got this amount of time to wrestle a match and still have good chemistry. At one point, Miro has Brian in the corner and kicks him, and Aubrey Edwards gets the count of 5, and then tries to pull Miro off. I'm sorry, but again, isn't that a DQ? Refs must call this if it is too much. Imagine if this was Miro, we had gotten the start of his run with AEW. You could have phrased that so much better. I am not saying he should have been a world title holder, but he certainly could be a challenger. While Brian's...
I'm not saying she's a gold digger. But I'm not finishing the rest of those lyrics.
I not say she dig for gold, but...
She is not messing with a person without cash.
But she has shovel for a good reason. We're losing our minds.
I know.
Brian strikes...
This is what AEW does to people, folks. Dude,
the Ritalin that Tony Khan is on must be contagious.
Seriously, it's a contact high.
Brian strikes look good, and it is good to see him again. Enjoy Brian while you can, because he's not going to wrestle much longer at this high a level. Miro's game over was tight, but Brian finds a way out. Is it me, or does Miro get a babyface reaction and Brian getting a heel reaction from the crowd? Definitely a smart crowd. The finish with
AEW.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah.
There were people cheering MJF while booing him.
Yeah, that is true.
This is not these ones are not, I don't want to say they're smarter than your average bear, because I don't know that for sure, but they are definitely a bear.
Yes. Miro, is it Miro? I already said that. The finish with the tornado DDT followed by a submission was okay in concept if Aubrey Edwards had waited a minute or two. The fact that she called for the bell so quickly made the ending feel anticlimactic, and you could put a sour note on this match. A good match, and Brian was the right guy to win because he can have a match with either guy in the main event. But I wonder if Brian will turn heel. This crowd was split on him and Miro, and it seems to be fickle in Mother Nature. Aha, you see what I did there? Ah, never mind. What? I'm not
sure.
That joke fell about as flat as that finish.
Yeah. Fickle like a pickle, brother. Anyway.
There's the gif. There's the gif of the cake with the "you tried."
That's right. Well, speaking of trying and failing horribly, it is the Falls Count Anywhere. It is Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus versus the Young Bucks and Adam Cole.
You sound displeased.
What is the point? Someone answer me this question. What is the point of Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa in a Falls Count Anywhere match if they're out there and don't bother to get involved? Which I'm not saying is a problem, but then what is the point of having them out there at all? Why are they there?
I think they got landed on a couple times, and that's it. Oh, there was a point where Cutler tried to use the spray thing on someone, but they ducked, and he accidentally got one of the Bucks once. But yeah, if you're going to have guys come out to the ring with your team in a no-DQ match, then they should be involved more often than just one time, or don't have them come out there.
Yeah, and did you notice that it's a street fight? You know, this is is this the Minneapolis street fight, or no, this is the Falls Count Anywhere.
Yeah, this is Falls Count Anywhere. Don't get me started with the Minneapolis street fight just yet. I need to conserve my strength.
It's a Falls Count Anywhere, but Lucha... I broke down Lucha Boy, which is not...
Lucha Boy! It's if Marco Stunt joined the Lucha Bros.
That's right. So, but the only two people who are dressed for a Falls Count Anywhere match are Christian and Jungle Boy. They look like they're ready for a fight. The Young Bucks look like they're ready to walk down Project Runway and... I don't know what, super kick Tyra Banks or something. And Adam Cole looks like a superstar. and is unfortunately around the Young Bucks.
That is true.
Because this is what he wanted to do to begin with. Did we get a collar and elbow tie-up?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did either. Because it just started with everybody just hockey fighting. My favorite.
Yes, it is Sean's favorite kind of fighting, the hockey stick fighting, which we actually had some of later in that god-awful street fight that we will get to later.
How many tope suicidas did we have in this match?
I honestly can't remember.
Just 2.
Just 2?
Just 2. And by the way, we should put a half of one on the one that Danielson tried, but Miro countered.
Yeah, he countered that into an awesome-looking belly-to-belly suplex.
So I would say maybe like the count now is 3.5 for the tope suicidas.
And another thing, like again, I know that you and Skyler both do not like the Young Bucks. I will say they did not do 100 million moves in this match.
I thought they showed hella restraint.
Yes, they did.
For a Young Bucks match.
Yes, they did.
And I was kind of impressed. Maybe that's because they were in front of a big boy like Christian and wanted to be on their best behavior. Maybe because Adam Cole is actually telling these two to fall in line a little bit. That can't be it. But this is, to me, this was more relaxed from them, but also this is a Falls Count Anywhere 6-man tag, so...
It's going to be chaotic.
Yeah. What was of all 6 men involved, what was the most over thing in this entire match?
The tables.
The table. I hate it. And that is why I've lost so much favor with these kinds of matches. I don't even care if Cole got juice, which he shouldn't have, by the way. But...
Well, I liked that he got juice because he landed like face first on like the edge of that steel chair on the outside, so it made sense for me for him to gig. So it added to the match for me. Normally I don't mind with juice, but considering where they were going to put it later, yeah, that's the only reason why I said I'd rather not have had it here, especially because of how ridiculous all the spots in this match were. And the fact that it was pretty much dry by the time they got to the finish, which he wasn't even involved in. Yeah, and another thing, speaking of juicing, I will say it would have made more sense if Jungle Boy had like some kind of like blood thing in his mouth, considering what happened to him in this match, than Adam Cole getting busted because he landed face first on a chair. Yeah. So. Yeah, this was But then there was this. And then here was the next big apron spot because they did the big German suplex on it. Release German suplex on it, which even JR was like, "Oh, damn, why?" Yeah. and then thumbtacks, cool. I like thumbtacks. That's just a me thing, I guess. And then they do this tack. Then they shove the tacks into Jungle Boy's mouth, and they do the BTE trigger. And I also hate how much Excalibur blows a wad when a V trigger, or anytime he gets to say the word trigger, he gets triggered. Yes, he does. He triggers himself. He's the trigger. Yeah, that is true. Yes. Say that 5 times and don't sound racist. Wow. And how did Christian had this amazing moment where he got this angle on one of the Bucks to do a tornado DDT where he landed on the ladder, but from where he got that, I don't know how he did that. He almost screwed it up. Yeah, but he somehow got that angle like perfectly, but just barely. I was like, that was impressive. Christian was putting in work this whole match. He was. I felt so bad for this dude. He was trying. Yeah, and I will say that I was a fan of most of the spots in this match. Like, I really liked the Jungle Boy jumping over the ropes and Hurricane Running. I think he gave Adam Cole the Hurricane Rana through the table. I thought that was cool. I liked that one Young Buck that did the elbow drop through the other table. I can't remember who he did it on, but I liked the form of that was Nick Jackson, who was the less offensive of the two Jacksons. Yeah. Personally. I thought he did a really pretty looking Shawn Michaels-esque elbow drop through the table. Well, I think he was doing that, and then he was imitating Macho Man, as he tends to do a lot of the time. Yeah. But a lot of what they do is imitation wrestling. Yes, that is true. You know, I'm not
not saying that as a criticism, even though it is a criticism, but I'm saying that more as that is legitimately their style.
I will say, I don't know. I don't get the purple mustache.
I don't get any of that. And then they did this camel clutch right after Miro did it. So, wow, that was really nice. And then they do the double rope and the kiss, and I'm like...
I'm not going to lie, I like that spot. It's super arrogant and obnoxious, and it works for me. It works for me.
If they did just off the ropes once, I'd be fine with it. 2 times is dumb.
To each his own.
Is just being stupid.
To each his own.
Yeah. But then JR, this is where JR started. He wanted this match to be over so badly. They go out to the outside, and they all go fight up in the top. In which case, I also had to make a comment. AEW's pay-per-view sets look different every time.
That is true. That
is important.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of those identity-wielding characteristics that WWE threw aside that has hurt their overall image.
What, you don't like massive LED screens and giant graphics?
No, when they only change every, 2 years, save for the Dunderdome.
Oh, no. Do not bring that word into my house, please. It's only been a couple months since I stopped doing that. I'm still recovering, Sean.
That's right. Well, and then they go outside, and then we get this great and then we get 3 people who try to climb the set and realize they can't climb it because the gears are there.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
I thought that was hysterical. And then we finally get a Panama Sunrise, which I thought should have ended the match. It's give Adam Cole this win.
Yeah.
And have this Panama Sunrise be the finish. And right after that, JR, and then I had a revelation about Matt Jackson. And when I say this, every time you watch Matt Jackson wrestle, you will never be able to unsee this. Matt Jackson sells like a confused toddler. He sits there split leg and he looks down like he's confused about his limbs. And he's just kind of getting a sense of his bearings.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And it's one of the funny, he looks up is that the sky? I'm not familiar with this.
I'm saying the complete opposite of your point of view right now. I'm looking forward to the next Young Bucks match specifically so I can look for that.
The next time you watch a Young Bucks match, watch Matt Jackson sell. He looks like a confused toddler.
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about, but I need to see it again for confirmation purposes.
Yes. Every time that I see him, that's a sell, and now I cannot unsee it because I saw it twice in this match, and I'm like, oh my god. But then we get JR. They do this thing with the knee pads. What did you think about this spot?
Okay, I liked the thumbtacks in the mouth spot. It just works for me. I like it. The thumbtacks sticking out of the knee pads, I thought was a little too ridiculous. I thought that was where in my opinion, that's when it crossed the line from, they're actually trying to hurt each other, into, this is a goofy carnival ride.
And this is where JR said something that made my jaw hit the floor, but that is why I've started to realize that when JR makes mistakes, I'm a lot softer on him for it. Because JR said, well, I didn't say their gimmick, but JR said, well, what's the reasoning of this? And JR goes, well, this is what they do. They do predetermined weapons.
Yep.
That are predetermined in the back for this occasion. For JR to, on a professional wrestling, allegedly, program, on pay-per-view, say the words predetermined on commentary, tells me that he must realize at this point that the cause is lost.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, and I was like, did he just say predetermined?
Yes. That's why when JR makes mistakes, I don't care. Because this poor man has been put through the absolute gamut.
He's done.
Seriously, for his own mental sanity is the only reason why I concur with both Skyler and yourself when I say that you should retire JR. don't put up with this anymore.
He threw his hands up in frustration and gave up a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, but this to me was groundbreaking with JR. Because this tells me that he is completely gone with it. And you heard it in his voice in the other big tag no disqualification match we had.
Yeah.
And then we then we do the tax with the knee pads, which was a 2 count, by the way. Not a 3 knees and their head gets bashed in. No, just get a 2 count out of that.
Well, I think someone broke that up.
Oh, that's right. No, that was a kick out, and then somebody broke it up.
Maybe they mistimed it a little bit.
But the goon, and then did you see Cutler and Nakazawa were basically telling, I forget which one of them jumped off the top. It wasn't Christian. He had already done his big from the top thing earlier. And I think it was Luchasaurus who did the big jump. And basically, Brandon Cutler was like, come on, Luchasaurus, come on, land on us. We're ready for you, as they got into position. So that was really illusion breaking, as if there was any left at this point.
I didn't notice that.
But then the finish, the very end of this match, I liked.
Me too. I thought the finish of this was fantastic. Plus, because they built to it earlier in the match.
This was the only thing I liked. At the very beginning, Christian Cage had the opportunity for a concerto and wanted to give it to Jungle Boy, and Jungle Boy wouldn't take it because he's too nice of a human being. But then, it's been a hell of a match. Every move that can be done has been done. And Christian Cage has the chairs up, and Christian's about to do it, and Jungle Boy looks at him and goes, I'm ready. I'll do it. Christian Cage hands it to him. He actually does the concerto and gets the pin with the concerto. 1, 2, 3. If you're gonna do it, there was 2 bits of story and a whole bunch of hoopla that didn't need to be in this match. But those 2 bits of story made this halfway decent.
Yeah, this finish put over Jungle Boy so hard, and I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, this finish alone made this match okay.
I'm not gonna lie, the only thing I didn't like in this match was the thumbtacks on the knee pads. I thought that was too much. I liked pretty much everything else. I guess as far as the 3 of us is concerned, I'm in the minority, but that's fine.
This is definitely more your style of match than my style of match.
Yes.
And that's fine. You know, this is what pro wrestling is about. And that's one of the things that AEW, I think, does right. And one of the things I think Cornette sometimes doesn't quite get is that there are different flavors in AEW, and those satisfying multiple flavors, you know, it's great having an award-winning brand of ice cream.
Yes.
But it's a lot better being a Baskin Robbins.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely a McDonald's, I want to just go to the store and get some food real quick kind of match. This is a junk food match.
Yeah, and that's fine. Sometimes you gotta have those. So,
and you know what? Of the 2 crazy, just out of control brawl with a bunch of people matches on the show, this was the superior one.
This was definitely I would 100% agree with that. I didn't hate this match the way that I hated that later match.
Oh, God.
This one, it had bits of story, and personally, if you weren't going to give this win to Adam Cole, the person to give it to is Jungle Boy.
Absolutely.
So
and honestly,
one with a good finish. I can't be mad with that.
I feel like this would, honestly, I feel like if they didn't have that later match, they would make this one look, this one would have been even better because it would have been the only kind of match like this on the show. But because you knew you had another match like this on the show, it just makes you roll your eyes more.
Yeah, agreed.
But anyway.
But what did Skyler have to say?
Oh, this is going to be fun. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express versus the Super Elite Falls Count Anywhere. It is at this point that I would like to point out a conversation in our group chat about this match. Me. I have one skippable match and I am skipping this one. Joshua. Boo, it was a good match. The Bucks didn't even do a flip. Me. I do not care, I'm skipping this match. Joshua.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh my God.
Yeah, they did not do a flip in the entire match.
What? Holy crap.
They really restrained themselves in this match. I was impressed.
I didn't even think about that. But that was also because Adam Cole was also a lot more the feature of those 3. And I think that was done on purpose because there's a recognition that he is definitely the star of that group.
Yeah, and I do appreciate, because again, a lot of people call the Young Bucks, and deservedly so, very arrogant. And like real life arrogant. But they very much knew in this match that they were not the centerpiece.
When it comes to their friends, they'll do anything for them.
Yeah, that is true. When it comes to their friends, everyone else, tough luck. But still.
All bets are wrong.
But anyway, so, me, I do not care, I'm skipping it. Joshua, no man, you gotta watch this match. Me, fine, whatever, hopefully it will not be that bad. Ellipses. At this point, and only for this match, I will be using a fuck you Joshua 1 counter. So we got, we got a fuck you Joshua counter.
Oh boy, here we go.
This was everything I expected it to be and more, and not in a good way. This was the bullshit hardcore deathmatch fight that was the love child of every ECW show of the late 90s. I hate that the props are so fucking over. I'm so used to censoring myself. Over and must be used at every time, and these sicko fans enjoy their torture porn fix as people go through tables and jump off high shit just to be caught by people waiting to catch them. Thankfully, I was making dinner and missed most of this match. But this is where I lost it. Cole has Jungle Boy in a camel clutch, and the Bucks put thumbtacks in his mouth and do the stooping running on the ropes and then kiss Cole's cheek before super kicking Jungle Boy, who has thumbtacks in his mouth. The worst part about this is the fact that the thumbtacks were gimmicked, as Joshua pointed out, because Jungle Boy did not bleed later and could be seen talking to Christian Cage later in the match. If you're not to go on all the way with the gimmick, they do not bring this freak show garbage into our wrestling shows.
I want to see Goanna fight Omega Elfberg now.
Oh, yeah. But the Young Bucks and now Adam Cole Minor clearly do not care. I officially can no longer say that I do not like Adam Cole and burning all of my Undisputed Era merchandise. Wow.
Oh, no, don't do that, man.
I think Skyler is having a tantrum. Probably because of me mocking his notes again.
Undisputed Era was great. Don't blame the Undisputed Era.
And in my opinion, this match was also good, so there's that. And the worst part is Joshua said he did not mind the thumbtacks in the mouth, but had a problem with the thumbtack knee pads. Yeah, because if I was fighting someone and there were thumbtacks nearby, I would absolutely shove those in the person's mouth. I would not go to a fight and say, I'm gonna bring thumbtack knee pads. One is believable, the other is not. Does that make sense, Sean?
You know, I will concede the point. I get what you're saying. I'm just not a fan of... I think thumbtacks have long overstayed their welcome in pro wrestling. I'd rather just not see it at all. But if you're going to justify it that way, that's about as good as you can. So I will be less critical of the thumbtacks in the mouth as much as I am the double running of the ropes and the kiss first.
Fair enough.
Boy just spit the tacks out.
Well, Adam Cole had him in the camel clutch and had his mouth closed, so.
But not that closed.
Well,
I think he was still crying a little bit.
But
he was selling with his mouth open, though.
Well, I think you were supposed to think that since he was in the camel clutch, he had his mouth closed. They should have had Adam Cole close his mouth with the camel clutch. That would have made it better. That would have made it better.
That would have made it a little bit better. But still, I will concede the point because that's at least decent justification.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even mind the thumbtack shoes. Those are ridiculous, but the thumbtack knee pads is beyond what I can tolerate. But anyway, fuck this match. A big way I judge a wrestling show is if I were to show it to someone who was not a pro wrestling fan, I could definitely get them to not ask me why I like this shit. This match would make everyone who knows me as a wrestling fan question what is wrong with me. I hate everyone involved and everyone who likes it. Fuck you, Joshua, for liking it, and fuck you, Tony Khan, for booking it. Well, Skyler, fuck you for saying Goanna multiple times in your notes. You must professionally read your notes before you send it to me. That is my response.
Hey, you know what? First of all, I almost thought that he wasn't going to, he said, I'm going to start a fuck you Joshua counter, and then almost didn't say it.
Yeah.
All, which would have been hysterically funny. So at least I will give him points for consistency.
That is true.
But speaking of consistency, there is a challenge to the greatest heel in wrestling. And he is in this match.
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yes.
It is Cody and Pac versus Malachi Black and Andrade El Gimpolo.
Gimpolo!
What in the deep fried titty fuck was this mask Andrade wore to the ring.
I thought it was edgy, so I liked it.
This to me, oh yeah, well, somebody's definitely edging in this relationship, and I think it might just be Charlotte. She is clearly the dom of this relationship. How else do you justify that mask?
Lord have mercy.
And Andrade, then, he will now have that name for me from now on.
Oh, yes.
His entrance sounds like it belongs in Spider-Man 2, not in AEW.
Oh my God, you're so right. That is so accurate, it hurts.
And it was just, man, I did not care for his entrance at all. I didn't like it.
When he was walking to the ring, all Sean could think was, go! Anyway.
Well, all I could think of was him and Charlotte doing gimp stuff, and that I really ought to be delivering pizzas.
It's pizza time.
You should watch. You should play the game Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2 for all of you who can.
I have.
Because it's fantastic. Best Spider-Man game they've made.
Ultimate Spider-Man! Excuse me.
But, in any case, Pac looks fantastic. Malachi Black looks like a big-horned Garuda.
I loved it so much.
Scarf.
I loved it so much. It's so edgy, I love it.
It's no, he looked, I don't mean that as a criticism. He looked good. And then I saw the sign that I think somebody in AEW ought to be slapped.
Oh no.
Did you see this sign? As Pac's coming down the ring, somebody in the aisle put down in big black bold letters, "Book Baron Corbin." What?
For the first time,
AEW fan watching went, what?
For the first time in TAP history, I, the host of the show, am tapping out. That is the breaking point right there. What?
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 And this wasn't the only time that sign showed up on the night.
Why?
I don't know.
I
honestly do not know.
Oh, God. I feel like JR talking about how things are predetermined right now.
Happy Corbin is doing, I think he's doing pretty good for himself.
He's getting promoted in a different company.
With Happy Corbin and Waldo McMossman, or whatever the hell his name is.
Where's Waldo?
And then the heat that Cody gets.
My God.
And then Arn got a pop.
Yeah.
Everyone likes Arn.
Yeah, because Arn's awesome.
Nobody had an issue with Arn Anderson.
Everyone hates Cody.
Oh, man.
They should rename that god-awful reality show to Everyone Hates Cody.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, though, it's hard not to. And then, Cody gets his weight belt and takes it off, and I do not know what this particular individual has up with him. But Cody gives this belt to a man with a clear disability who wasn't quite registering the situation, and neither were any of the commentators. They breezed by that moment like it didn't even happen, and it was just weird and awkward, and maybe that was the only person in that arena who would have accepted Cody's belt.
Yeah. That was awkward.
That was so misplayed. It was so horribly misplayed. It was so awkward.
It was,
Oh,
yikes.
Couldn't be just thinking about it.
Just yikes.
Yeah, whole lot of yikes. Big heap of yikes. Big bowl of yikes.
And then they had a TV match.
This match was okay. This match was bad. Well, first of all, what do I always ask for in tag team matches?
For them to actually tag each other with their hands, not 100 million backslap tags or chest tags.
Now, I understand a lot of people don't mind the backslap tags, but when that's the whole point of the match, that is really A, lazy-ass booking. That's a lazy construction of a match, A. And B, Why are these four even in the realm with each other?
That was my question. That's another thing. Why? Like, that's another tired trope of two tag teams where one or both of them don't like each other. We've seen that 100 trillion times.
Yeah, and it just... And JR even mentioned this. This JR was like, well, this isn't really two tag teams. This is like four men booked for some reason in a tag match. Like, even JR was like, yeah, I don't know why this is happening either. and God, did we get a collar and elbow tie-up?
I think we did.
No, we got backslap tags.
Oh, yeah, that is right. That is right. Because these people don't like each other, but they're tagging for some reason.
Non-stop. Did we get a tope suicida in this match?
I think so.
We did. Counts up to 4.
Yikes. But I will say, I liked this tag match better than the tag team title match. Because
it was hard for me to enjoy.
I at least felt like this one had some kind of a structure. Not the best structure, or even a good structure, but at least it had a beginning, middle, and end. Whereas the previous tag team match had a middle, end, beginning, middle, end, and now we're ending.
Okay, I see your point. I definitely can say that. I mean, I guess maybe it's just because I really, really like FTR.
Yeah.
But this was just bad. For these four individuals, look at these four individuals. No matter what their booking is of these four, it is Cody Rhodes, Pac, Andrade El Gimpolo, and Malachi Black. These four can work.
Yeah.
Why was this match so bad?
I don't know.
And then Idolo and Black just wait around to catch Pac when he finally does his dive. Then we get one hand tag. Then there's a very nice slap body slam from Malachi Black to Pac. And then Cody gets knocked to the outside, and the card camera just catches Cody just sitting there waiting.
Yep. And the crowd starts chanting Cody's sleeping, which was hilarious.
Yep, because he's just sitting there. Then there was a very nice pendulum DDT, but once again, onto the apron.
Yep.
For our third debilitating apron spot of the night. Cody gets the best hot tag, but he's so hated that the booze eliminated all of its meaning.
Yep.
Then they do this. Finally, I'm skipping a lot here because there's really not a whole lot else to talk about.
There's not much of substance to talk about in this match.
Yeah. Then they do this combustion spot where Pac finally dives over the top and Cody happens to be there and they finally combust. And then Pac gets back into the ring and I believe it was Idolo hits his hammerlock DDT for the pin and Cody just gets right back up and breaks it up. Like they didn't just do that. So what was the whole point of the combustion spot if Cody was barely going to sell it and let alone it be the finish? Which it should have been if the whole story was these two teams can't work with each other.
I got nothing.
Yeah. Pac wins, which is great, but this was a weird-ass match.
I feel like if Cody Rhodes was cheered instead of booed vociferously, it would have had a different tone that probably could have worked.
It's amazing how much the vehement hatred of Cody Rhodes is actually affecting the quality of the matches.
Yeah, exactly, because they booked this for Cody to be a babyface, but he's so clearly despised by the crowd that it just makes it awkward.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing was this felt like a TV match, and it was like we can't think of anything else to do with you guys, so we're gonna put all four of you in a match for no reason just so you can be on the pay-per-view. That's what this felt like.
Yeah.
This felt very shoehorned.
And you almost wonder if Cody was like, wait, I need a match too, and they're like, okay, here you go.
Yeah, that's what this felt like.
And because that's what it felt. Would you like to hear what Skyler had to say?
Well, before we get to that, and then we had, was it Dax or Cash that came out for no reason?
It doesn't matter, because they're hired help. Because
why?
Bought the services of them a couple weeks ago.
He came out there, punched Cody once, and left.
Yep.
Wow, that was what an angle.
That's all they paid for. It was only like $6.
It was ridiculous. He came out there, punched him once, and left.
Hey, go out there and punch him and leave, okay?
That right there.
But Tully, run out there, barely make it to him before you have to run back out again.
That right there. That one punch and then him turning around and leaving. He was there for like 15 seconds and then he was gone. That right there when I was like, okay, AEW, you need to relax. You don't need to have a trillion things happening at once.
Jumpstart and afterbirth.
Yeah. Just good lord.
This was a Russo run-in moment.
Yep.
Right here. This definitely felt very Russo-esque. And I don't normally besmirch the name of somebody with Vince Russo, but
yeah,
Tony Khan definitely Russo'd all over this match. And now would you like to hear what Skyler has to say?
Oh, yeah.
All right. All at attention. General Notes is getting some oats.
Attention!
All right. Time for the Odd Couple Tag Team match that is a waste of everybody's goddamn time. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Agreed.
Of all the matches on this show, this one and the Jericho match did not need to be booked. This one, at very least, could be booked as a TV show main event. That Jericho match, well, we'll get to that.
I agree. This felt like a TV match.
Cody Rhodes dressing like Homelander from The Boys tonight. I don't know the reference, but I'm sure he's correct.
He got mad at me for that.
Are we sure Cody's not a heel by pretending to be a babyface and good guy, but on the inside is a piece of shit? When I made this reference in our group chat, Joshua didn't know who Homelander is, and neither did I. Given the amount of edge that's in The Boys, I would recommend Joshua watch it when he is not losing his shit over Black Veil Brides.
Black Veil Brides had a dope-ass concert in Myrtle Beach, and it was a fabulous birthday present. Thank you, Mom. Happy birthday to my mom. Continue.
Has to happen.
I want Andy Biersack to come on my face. Continue.
Yeah. The backslap counter was broken by this match because it was the entire story of the match.
That
in
is
this
true.
context, I'm okay with it, but I can feel Sean's anger boiling at the lack of regard for tag team match rules. He ain't wrong. I said MJF is one of the few people to get heat, but he's getting it on purpose. Cody's getting heat because he's a fucking idiot who married a shallow fame hungry woman and tries to be every man like his father, even though he's a country club member. Eddie Kingston was so right when he debuted and told Cody that he is not real and this is real. Black was injured at some point in the match. I noticed that Andrade spent most of the time in the match for his team, but the dissolution of Andrade and Black's teamwork was weird. These boys needed a Zelina Vega to get them to work together, but alas, Vega took the money. Well, Tony, I'm pretty sure Andrade also took a hefty amount of money, and I always called him Alistair.
Oh, no.
And Malcolai Black.
Malcolai.
Was also probably took a good chunk of money, but I get his point. AEW's alliance system makes no sense. There are like 8 stables in AEW, and they all work together or don't work together or do work together for a couple weeks. AEW trying to be New Japan, but failing because they don't make their stables any different from one another. Let's do a stable counter while we're at it. Oh boy, oh my god. Holy Christ.
Yikes.
Dark Order, Inner Circle, The Pinnacle, Death Triangle. Death Triangle's not a thing anymore. They broke them up. Dark Order, Inner Circle, Pinnacle, Nightmare Family, Team Taz, The Elite, The Hardy Family, and The Best Friends. 8 stables, who gives a shit? This is a TV match that didn't need to be here and does not make me interested in anything Cody Rhodes does. Go back to reality and stay there and never return.
I would say or turn a heel.
Yeah, that would also suffice. All right, moving right along, because we still got a lot more show to talk about here. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Ty Conte for the Women's Championship in AEW. What did you think?
I think that this was a very good match, and the crowd was exhausted.
Yeah, the crowd it was really difficult for the crowd to get into this. I thought this match was fine. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot. It was long, but it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, you could feel that Ty Conte in this... Say what you want to about this match. Ty Conte worked her ass off in this match, and I have a newfound level of respect for her, because this, in my opinion, is the best match she's ever had. But doesn't make this a great match by any stretch of the imagination, but she tried her hardest.
Well, she took a lot of bumps. I will give you that. She bumped around a lot.
She did a terrible moonsault at one point.
But a lot of her offense was garbage.
Yeah.
I really was expecting more out of Ty Conte, to be honest with you. Britt Baker did as good a job as she possibly could.
And I will say, like, even though Ty was trying, some of her moves, her finishing move, which is like the gory bomb into the go to sleep, looks terrible. It looks so wacky. And her knee, the distance between her knee and the person's face, or at least at the camera angle that they caught it at, you could like fly an airplane through that amount of space.
Yeah, Chris Jericho is so fat that he's the only thing that can actually bridge that gap. And the jokes will be coming more, believe me on that.
Oh, yeah.
But in any case, then we get a fourth major injury angle apron spot. Rebel is just annoying.
Her voice. Her lung cancer voice makes me want to rip my ears off.
Yeah, that was just annoying as hell. Then Ty Conte whiffs the kick to the gut.
Yep.
Her strikes don't connect at all. They do a curb stomp on the steel steps, and it's not the finish.
Yeah.
This Seth Rollins match needed more Waluigi. That was my big statement on this match.
It needed a giant, cartoonish-looking sledgehammer and a ref stoppage. And someone screaming at Britt Baker, "This isn't you, Britt!"
Yeah. This was... Personally, I just thought that this match was fine. But again, then, to further add to the similarities between other wrestlers, Ty Conte missed that moonsault exactly like someone else we know.
Yeah.
In like the same way, and she landed on her feet first, and then everybody fell afterwards.
When she went up top for that moonsault, I was like, oh no. That is not in your repertoire. Please do not try this. And she tried and hit no one.
Yeah, it was bad. And then everybody sold it, of course.
Of course.
And then we get to this finish. And once again, most of this match was blah, but I liked this finish.
Me too.
And this is the weirdest thing about, normally with WWE, the match is good and the finish is garbage. And in this case, the match was blah, but the finish was good. I liked this because they obviously want to keep developing Ty Conte, because this is different than any other Dr. Britt Baker pay-per-view match that she's had as champion up to this point. They do back and forth. Conte had the match won with her finish, and then she gets countered by Dr. Britt Baker. She tries to get the lockjaw. She can't get it. Conte goes to hit something else. Another counter by Breaker. She gets a roll-up, and it's a fast 3. And so she doesn't bury Conte. It's a roll-up, so then it shows that she had to be quick. The only thing I wish Britt Baker did was grab the tights.
I agree. That would have made it even better.
That was the only thing I would have liked more than that finish, was just a little bit of cheating.
Yeah. This was not the best match ever, but they both tried. Ty Conte, she's not the greatest, but she tried as hard as she possibly could. I would just remove the moonsault from your repertoire. Don't ever do that again. And get that arm hook finishing move, that arm hook sweeping DDT, that should be her finish. The DD tie or whatever they called it, which is a terrible name.
Yeah.
Dump the gory bomb go to sleep thing. It looks terrible. She's a work in progress.
She's definitely a work in progress, and they definitely are treating her as such.
Yeah.
And considering how Britt was when she started, and now how she is now, I'm going to give it time for Ty Conte.
Me too.
I'm not going to put any indictment on her, but she's got to fix up that offense.
Yes.
By the way, did we get a collar and elbow tie-up?
I think we did.
Yes, we did. It is, just so you know, on the night, 3 for 6. Not half bad.
And two of those were the giant brawling no DQ matches.
Right. So that's so that makes at least a little bit more sense. So not terrible. Honestly, I can give it credit there. And that was pretty much all I had to say about this. The finish was good. The rest of the match was fine.
Yeah. Would have been better if the crowd was not exhausted. True. And if Ty's offense was better. All right, so Skyler's notes. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD versus Ty Conte, AEW Women's Championship. This match was never in doubt because we knew Britt was go on. God damn it, Skyler. Why? We knew Britt was gonna win because she's dentist. She's a doctor of the tooth.
We have to correct grammar before you understand.
For the love of God, Skyler Greenberg from the Bay Area.
I swear to God, Cheskis.
When will you learn? When will you learn? Gonna do it every time. It's the sequel to Moana. Go Anna. I wanna go on a trip with Moana. And the weird Russian.
Go on.
Jesus.
Amazing.
The question is, would be if Ty Conte looked any better than in her recent outings. The eyeshadow is on women in AEW, and I hated it. Leave the weird-ass eyeshadow makeup to WWE, please. I didn't mind it on Ty Conte because it was the colors of her home country, so I didn't mind that. Ty Conte is green as hell. Well, yeah, because she's from Brazil. We know. She only started wrestling.
Sorry, the timing of that was really funny. Go ahead.
She only started wrestling 5 years ago and got very minimal training with WWE. You can see it in her punches and forearms, and she has no idea how to strike. If AEW has a wrestling school, they need Eddie Kingston to teach a class every Thursday to show how to lay shit in. The two women with Britt Baker were annoying as hell. Agreed, especially Rebel. And got touching Conte when she ran the ropes. The ref is Mike Knox, so of course he does nothing because there's nothing going on top or inside of his head. The weird mounted camera on the ring post looking at Ty Conte's ass while Britt Baker was about to superplex her was useless. It was not a great camera angle for seeing anything other than someone's ass, which, Ty Conte took a page from Charlotte and did her moonsault from the top rope, hitting one of the two valets directly and missing the other one completely. I have not mentioned the other two valets' names because I don't give a fuck about them. They are not important enough for me to memorize their names. This match could have ended with a curb stomp Baker did to Conte on the steel steps after the interference by the two assistants, and then the stomp she did inside the ring. But they kept wrestling for another 5 minutes because she wanted to use the lockjaw for the finish and ended it with a roll-up. For a match that is supposed to make Conte look good while making Baker look strong, this finish was as wet a fart as you could get. And this is supposed to be progressive for women's wrestling, right? Fuck you, Tony Khan. I disagree with the note about the finish.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there were a little too many curb stomp. And again, I did mention the steel steps. That really should have been that match. That was a finishing spot.
Yeah,
it was a finish spot, and I did mention that as well. But this one also didn't feel near. It was long, and this was really the time when my eyes kind of started glazing over in the middle of half of these matches because I just there was just so much. You know, this is already 2.25 hours into this that we were watching this part of the show. So it was kind of like a little bit much. But I don't necessarily... I feel like this was not as bad as it very much could have been.
Yeah. I mean, Ty Conte... I would have rather
this than a lockjaw where she tapped and lost just flat.
Yeah. But Ty Conte, I mean, I will say that Ty Conte, she's improved a lot since the Mae Young Classic, but she still has a long way to go.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. But then we get a master class in what I consider to be the match of the night. Now, hold on. You're going to get a little fun thing in the TAP. I have to quickly cut this and start again. And give me 1 second here because I just got to switch because it's going to stop in the middle of our recording. And then Joshua's lovely voice will not be recorded in the middle of him saying something great about CM Punk. And I do not want to leave the fans bereft of these sorts of words. So 1 second, we're going to now stop and restart. So that means you got to listen to both podcasts now because they're both a little bit different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Things get a little wild here because technology hates both of us.
That's right. I just pulled my pants down. Now I'm going to pull them back up for the Court Martial podcast.
Dude, I've been in nothing but my underwear since we started.
And only you and the TAP are going to hear this information. So you're welcome. And here we go. So, in any event, is now CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston in the fight of the night. This was glorious.
I 100%, I 110% agree. This was fantastic.
I loved all of this, except for CM Punk's garbage Three Amigos. He got booed for it when he faced Chavo in ECW. He should have gotten booed for it now. I hate the way they look. It's not that much of a tribute.
Yeah. I agree.
Other than that, no problem.
Agreed.
No problem. This was Punk is obviously the star of this show, of all of AEW. Nobody's getting a pop like CM Punk.
Oh, agreed.
But I love the fact that Punk was focused. There was no...
Oh, yeah, I love that, too. They both did not do any of their gimmicky entrance stuff. They walked straight to the ring. Eddie Kingston was like, come out, let's go ahead and get this over with.
This was a fight.
Oh, yeah.
This had a fight feel. They knew exactly how to do this. I loved it. It felt different from anything we had seen that night. And then, back fist.
Oh, yeah. That back fist was beautiful. Punk was out, and Eddie Kingston was laughing like a madman. It was fantastic.
And you know what was great? I do have to give JR a lot of credit here, because JR has said Punk's lucky as hell that the bell did not ring, because his goose is cooked right now. And Punk sold it like he was legitimately knocked out.
Oh, yeah.
He sold it like death. It was wonderful. Now, obviously, this one gets a major pass. But did we get a collar and elbow tie-up in this match?
I do not think so.
No. And this one shouldn't have one in.
Absolutely. Of all the matches of all the singles matches to not have a collar and elbow tie-up, this is the one, because this is not a wrestling match, this is a fight.
Yeah. And I have so little to comment, because these two just beat the piss out of each other. And I would have loved if the juice had just been for CM Punk, and Punk's the only one who got juice. But it didn't matter, because the rest of this, rules for the most part were still enforced in this matchup, if you noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a competitive, it was a fight, but it had rules.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And then we get. You've got to be the one to tell them what happens here.
Okay, so at a point, everyone knows that my favorite wrestler is CM Punk. And everyone also knows that one of my least favorite wrestlers is the general manager of SWCG, Mr. Jonathan Cena himself.
Yes.
You're going to love this. When CM Punk started doing the shoulder blocks, when he did the first one, I was like, please tell me he does another one and then a back side slam. And he did. And the crowd started booing like crazy. And I thought it was fantastic. Because if you think about it, and I think they've mentioned this, I think Punk has mentioned this in an interview, or someone has mentioned this in some kind of interview, CM Punk is honestly the John Cena of this feud. Because Eddie Kingston's whole thing is CM Punk doesn't respect me and hasn't respected me in my entire career, which is what CM Punk's problem was with John Cena back during their 2011 feud. So when CM Punk starts doing John Cena moves, I was just like, this is fantastic. And then when he has his hand raised in the air and the crowd just starts losing their mind over the fact that he might do a 5-knuckle shuffle, but then he does the middle finger. I just loved that. I loved it. And you know what the funniest thing is? Because wrestling fans suck. They were going to be so mad if he did the "You Can't See Me" that they would have said, "You can't see me," if he actually did do it.
Yeah, he totally would have.
Because wrestling fans are dumb. Because wrestling fans are dumb.
Absolutely. 100%. But I loved this. I loved that moment. I have one other critique, and this is not even necessarily from Punk and Eddie Kingston, because I feel like, again, this particular thing I'm going to mention should have been saved for Punk and Kingston, but too many middle fingers all night.
Yeah, and they screamed, "Fuck you," too many times in this match.
Should have been just in this match we got middle fingers.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, it's just, again, like everything else in AEW, everybody does everything.
Yeah. And I have my own slight nitpick of this match. CM Punk's big shoulder blocks look terrible. They did not look that great, because that is not a CM Punk move.
But I will give credit to Punk here. He worked like a heel because he knew he was the heel of this feud. Even though he's a babyface, he didn't cheat, but he worked heel in this matchup.
Oh, absolutely.
And he got booed.
It speaks volumes of how good Eddie Kingston is, not just in the ring, but as a storyteller. Can you imagine thinking that not even a couple months into his return to professional wrestling, a crowd would be booing CM Punk?
It's because Eddie Kingston is the Terry Funk of our generation.
Absolutely. It is mind-boggling.
He is a wizard. And the fact that it took this long for people to recognize the magic of Eddie Kingston is a goddamn shame.
Agreed. And another thing,
he is so incredibly good. And that's why when I found out that this match was going to be on this show, there was no dispute in my mind. I'm watching the show. If for nothing else, this is going to be good.
Oh, yeah. And another thing, I think they made the right decision having CM Punk win this match, but I would have loved it if Eddie Kingston won.
Well, here's why I don't have I would have loved it if Kingston won too, but here's why I don't hate this. Because Punk was selling after this match that he was really messed up.
Oh, yeah, he was.
He sold for the entire time he was being walked to the back, he sold that Eddie Kingston put him through the ringer. He made Eddie Kingston, in that moment, a legitimate evil.
Made this man look like $1 million.
Yeah. This was a brutal match. Super fun. The selling afterward made Kingston. There's nothing, I mean, save for our few nits that we have picked, this could have fit in any era, in any professional wrestling company, and passed off as brilliant as it was. Match of the night by a country mile.
My second favorite match of the night.
Okay. Oh, God.
But we will get to that. We will get to that.
And, but I do have to give credit here because there was more logical finishes on this show, even if the matches themselves were kind of interesting. The matches varied in quality, but most of the finishes on this show were solid.
Yes.
Most of them.
Yes.
Most of them. Would you like to hear what Skyler had to say?
If he says go on one more time, I might actually drive to California and slap him.
All right.
Slap you in California! Anyway, continue.
All right. Now, Horror, shut your face. I come to give rant. I'm sure you have noticed I've mentioned Eddie Kingston's name a lot tonight. Well, it's because he deserves it. I implore anyone who's a fan of wrestling to read his article that came out in the Players Tribune, which I have not read. That article was hard to read, but reflects on Eddie Kingston and who he is. He's not fake. He's the farthest thing from it. Eddie's a real man, grew up in a hard place, is no hero for numerous terrible things he's done, but like any other kid, grew up with a dream. He wanted to be a pro wrestler, and he worked day in, day out, sometimes, as mentioned, in front of 8 people. But after years of doing it, he finally did it, and he hit the big times on national TV. But Eddie Kingston still struggles with his demons because life doesn't have storybook endings. Eddie's still in a dark place, and it would not take much for Eddie to slip back and do terrible things. And it would have been extremely easy for Kingston to die due to his demons. And it would be a shame to see Kingston fall into such a bad place, and why we as fans should not allow Eddie Kingston to fall into a bad place. Eddie's truly a pro wrestler and is not artificial like Cody Rhodes, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, or any of these other Greek gods.
What?
Whoa. I wouldn't go so far as to call Cody Rhodes a Greek god.
That's what I was thinking. More like a geek god.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably in the middle of finishing his playthrough of Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past as we speak. Because he plays it once a year. Eddie Kingston looks like shit, punches with hands made of cinder blocks, and will beat you within an inch of your life for a check. This truly is the one time I wish Eddie would have won, and fans wanted Eddie to win. And while he didn't get the W, Eddie Kingston should be celebrated for the toughness and is displayed not just in wrestling, but in life. I want to say this. I say this to say that CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston was the only match that felt like a fight between two guys who hated each other. Agreed. The crowd turning against Punk was weird, but a look into the future because we all know Punk is a better heel than babyface. No disputing that for me. CM Punk showing Hangman Page how to blade and get blood. I know Cole got blood earlier. I don't care. And Eddie Kingston is deciding, rather than do something silly like sign the contract in blood. Wait. And Eddie Kingston deciding, rather than do something silly like sign the contract in blood, begins to smear it over himself. I see what he's saying. Everyone does the middle fingers on this show, and it doesn't mean shit, but when Eddie does it, it's because deep down he really does fucking hate you.
He really does hate you. He's a hateful fucker.
That's right. The John Cena moment by Punk was trolling at its finest. Punk later said he did it because he wants to have fun with the fans. Sign me up for Punk messing with people. When does Punk not mess with people?
I know, right? Where have you been?
Where have you been?
I can tell you, Russia.
That's right. And then Punk did Eddie Guerrero tribute because we must mention Eddie died on this day. If you want to go on now...
No! Stop! Why are you this?
If you want to go on now, remember Eddie. Do it on day he born, not day he died, people. It is not right that making people think about Guerrero and not match gets Guerrero over. This end of match felt real with Punk and Kingston barely able to stand. This being short match made stand out because fight in real world have fast start, slow end because tired. Good match, contender for best match on show.
Well done, boys. Well done, boys.
That's right.
Oh,
now,
God.
All right, we're almost done. Dear God, we're almost done.
Oh.
God, let's get through this as much as we can. It is the Inner Circle versus the American Top Team in the Minneapolis street fight. And the reason I'm laughing is that if you saw the first 10 minutes of this match, you would not know it was a street fight.
This.
Why
This.
did they tag for 10 minutes in a street fight?
This sucked. This sucked ass.
This was the worst match on the show.
Agreed. At least in the Falls Count Anywhere match, no one did any tags.
Oh God, this was just we started out with a reasonable 10-man tag team match that devolved into the Minneapolis street fight.
Yeah.
Which included, but was not limited to, a whole bunch of stupid kitchenware bullshit that apparently was made in Minneapolis.
Which was so goofy.
And this was probably the most AEW match they had on the show.
I felt like this is... Sometimes AEW turns a little bit into WWE. This was the most WWE feeling thing on the show, in my opinion.
Yeah. This was, and then... And then Santana and Ortiz looked like they just came out of the School of Vampiro costumes.
Yeah.
And boy, isn't it amazing how over Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian were, because Scorpio Sky is not liked at all. Like, no cheers, no boos, like, nothing.
Yeah. I thought he got hurt in this matchup. At a point, I thought he legitimately got injured in this matchup because of that one arm drag that Sammy Guevara gave him where they landed awkwardly. He did not look right for the next several minutes.
Yeah, he definitely felt that one. And then Ortiz does a plank pinfall, which was stupid. Just cover the guy with your arms would be nice.
But he's weird, Sean.
And that's never stopped me from critiquing him about it before.
That is true.
And it's, and then I loved, the best part of this whole match was Dan Lambert's Weasley. Because he was Weasley, alright. And then these two MMA guys, holy crap, these guys are green.
Oh my God. I did not give a shit about...
one of them actually is from Brazil, but I don't know about the other. But
put him in a mixed tag with Ty Conti.
Yeah.
I don't give a single shit about these MMA guys. I just don't.
Neither did AEW. The fans didn't care. And then hockey sticks.
An actual hockey fight.
Yeah. And then actual hockey fight. And then, I mean, at least they gave some reasoning for it. They're like, oh, it's all from Minneapolis. So I'm like, oh, okay.
But that's so damn goofy. Why does everything the Inner Circle is ever involved with this goofy, corny garbage?
Because Chris Jericho's got to show what a real band looks like by holding up Prince. And be like, I'm music. Look at me. I'm music just like Prince. So let me use Prince's sign to knock people off. Then we got a Purple Rain chant because Prince is over. This was not.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Then we get a chair. Oh, then we get the pilmatization with the thing that Punk did to Jeff Hardy in 2009, where they drew the throat into the chair and then put it into the ring post.
Mm-hmm.
They did that. Meant nothing.
Yep.
And this was just more major injuries. This was every major injury angle that they could possibly come up with, they used on this show.
And speaking of Jeff Hardy, Sammy Guevara, for reasons I still don't know, did a swanton bomb from a 2,000-foot tall ladder through a table on someone.
That was the best looking thing on the match.
And honestly, doing something like that from that height, not gonna lie, when he did that, I did not care. I was bored.
Yeah. Well, they did the third double submission, which Sammy Guevara then threw a football that was way bigger than any football I've ever seen. So it was like an inflatable one that you get from G.I. Jose.
Yeah.
And threw it down there, and this was just... JR was dying inside. This is where I really felt for JR. Because JR's like, what's that? And Excalibur's, or Tony Schiavone is like, it's a toaster. And JR's like, a toaster?
Yeah, that's right. He did do that.
He started just overselling. Like, he went the entire other direction. He just started overselling. Like, he was like, what is this mayhem gonna happen? Do you see the shellacking shenanigans here? Oh my God, JR.
Poor JR.
Oh, I feel so bad.
Dude, you want to know what I got? I got so bored during this match. You know what I started doing? I started clipping my fingernails during this match. I was so bored.
And why? If you're gonna have a pro wrestling god like Baron Von Raschke in AEW, why would you waste him on this match? Why would you waste the Claw on this match? That is such a waste of a legend.
I agree.
It was so... I mean, that guy... I haven't seen Baron Von Raschke in decades. Literal decades. And that's where you use him? Ugh. I mean, it was still cool. I still popped because I'm like, yeah, old guy. But
and he had the most charisma out of most of the people in this match.
Everybody in the match.
Yep.
Everybody popped for him. Nobody cared about any of the rest of this.
Yeah.
And then Chris Jericho, then the kendo sticks.
Yep.
Then the lion salt that missed the cue.
Oh my God, that was so terrible. That was so bad. So okay,
I'm backtracking here because then they also launched into the crowd, and any one of those guys who fell in the crowd could sue.
Yeah, they landed on someone.
Yep. And then the lion salt missed the cue, which was terrible.
Oh my God. So I think it was Junior Dos Santos. All right, so Jericho had Lambert laying down in the middle of the ring, and he goes over to do the lion salt, and time stops.
Yep.
He's standing there on the ropes, waiting for Dos Santos to clock him in the face. Dude, Dos Santos did the Megaton punch. Because it slowed down Chris Jericho.
You think about it in hindsight, and it's hysterically funny, but
yeah.
It was just... This match was just so god-awful, I was just not in the mood to laugh at it. So
yeah.
I was like, oh.
We got to see a Megaton punch in this match.
And then... the finish.
More Eddie Guerrero tribute show. God, why? And it was the actual finish of the match. That was the worst part.
That's the worst part of all of it. But I've got two jokes about this because it was Jericho who did it.
Oh, no.
Word is that when Jericho hit the frog splash, Minneapolis suffered a 3.2 magnitude earthquake. Body count is yet to be discovered. It's still cleaning rubble as we speak.
Oh God!
And then the joke I had is it's not a frog splash, it's a whale breach. So there you go. There are Chris Jericho's jokes for the day. A broken Josh again. He's muffled over wheezing. Dying. Absolutely dead.
That was
the seal.
That was the best thing I've ever heard. That was the best thing I've ever... That is the best Chris Jericho so fat joke we've ever made.
That's it. We've peaked.
We've peaked. We've got to stop now.
That's it.
It's the end of an era, ladies and gentlemen.
It's over. It's over. The finals. The finals.
Jesus Christ, that...
So...
I need a lung transplant after that.
That was how we're ending that. That was the end of that. Would you like... actually... What does Skyler have to say?
Oh, Jesus. Inner Circle versus ATT. I don't know, the phone company was involved in this match. And Men of the Year. We have now come to the Inner Circle jerk portion of the show as Chris Jericho continues living out his midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Everyone lost their shit because Junior Dos Santos does a standing shooting star press that barely hits. Are the standards for wrestling solo that we are praising this? Yes. Skyler, the answer is yes.
Yes.
As a concept, this match never made sense. You don't say. We're going to wrestle for a few minutes before we do a street fight. This was all clearly done just to get Chris Jericho a chance to beat up a Jim Cornette stand-in. Dan Lambert's tracksuit was awful on purpose, but even then, it was so bad that I lost vision in my eyes briefly due to how the dumb shit I saw. I'm not going to even bother to recap this match. It was not worth it. It was over 20 minutes of waste. It went so long, too.
Forever. God. It would not end.
MJF should have retired Jericho so he could be the mouthpiece for the stable because it is clear he cannot do this shit anymore. Jericho booked a gig for Fozzie's guitar person to escort Britt Baker to ringside. Can Jericho book Fozzie to be on tour so we never have to see him wrestle again?
I thought that dude actually did okay.
Yeah, he did. But I've officially joined the Chris Jericho hate train at this point. The Inner Circle and whoever they're feuding with is my least favorite act in AEW right now. It is always just the same WWE level goofy cornball garbage, and I hate it.
Yeah, consistently, and that's the worst part about it. It's constant.
Yeah.
With Jericho. It started with Orange Cassidy, and it never stopped.
Yep. I can't take it anymore. I'm done with it.
Yep,
MJF well, I already read that paragraph. I've read a lot of the same paragraph today. The botch at the end is everything AEW in a nutshell. Chris Jericho is the only person I would have been fine with, still did not like it doing an Eddie Guerrero tribute since he and Eddie Guerrero had been close friends for a long time. But of course, the others did it earlier in the night, so... Jay Lethal coming out is interesting. ROH is dead, and Sammy will have a tough challenge on his hands against Lethal. Plus, we get more than the token black guy Scorpio Sky on these pay-per-views in terms of African Americans having a chance to wrestle for titles. Well then.
I mean...
That is not incorrect.
Yeah, I can't dispute those words. So, well, let's move on to the main event, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
It's time. It's time. It's Vader time. It's Kenny Omega versus Adam Hangman Page for the AEW World Title. The cinematic before this with Adam Page was oddly satisfying.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was one of the few times that I thought AEW cinematics actually got something right to hype somebody up.
Mm-hmm.
Made me feel a little bit better. I like the fact that Omega didn't have his broomstick chicks that he was doing when he was the cleaner.
Yeah.
This felt like Omega was a little bit more serious than perhaps he's been in matches past. And honestly, this was probably the least offensive Omega I've seen. I feel like Omega may have actually learned a little bit more about American wrestling since working with Christian and a couple of these other guys that he's been able to in AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because normally with me and Omega, it's been spotty. Oh, we'll just put it that way. It's been spotty.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. I personally don't really have a lot to say negatively about Kenny Omega in this matchup, with the exception of, he does the finger point before he does the hopscotch run, and, all the regular Kenny Omega stuff that's just part of his goofiness in general. But on this night, I didn't have a problem with this. I thought this match was fine. I have a feeling you're going to say it was your favorite match.
Yes, it was my favorite match on the show.
Would you like to explain to the people?
In retrospect, if you want to look at it objectively, I would say that the Punk Eddie Kingston match objectively is the best match, bar none. But my personal favorite match was this match because I love Kenny Omega. His goofiness does not bother me that much. He didn't do any of the "did I do that," which was a plus.
No, he was toned down significantly.
Yeah.
He was serious.
Serious Kenny Omega is, in my opinion, one of the best. When he's super goofy, I still like him, but it takes away from it a little bit from me. And Adam Hangman Page has really grown on me, and I've been really looking forward to this match since Adam Page came back. And I have not watched the entire storyline from beginning to end, but I know of it, and I like what I have seen of the story, and I have liked the more recent build to this match, minus the Adam Page in the Plato suit that he was in, which was the weird. It's AEW weirdness. But other than that, I've really liked the build-up to this. And I felt like they paid it off spectacularly in this match. The main reason why I like this match the most is because it was the finish on the show that I wanted the most.
Sure.
I really wanted Adam Page to win this match because I felt like it was his time.
Yeah.
And
he did. To take the belt off Omega.
It was time. And they did it. And Kenny Omega put over Adam Page in a huge way. And just, I think they have tremendous chemistry together. And this was just a solid main event championship match.
Yep. Page got a little bit of juice. This actually had some, it wasn't necessarily the traditional shine the babyface heat spot comeback structure that a typical American wrestling match had. It didn't necessarily have that because there were definitely a few elements of Japan in there, but this was probably the closest thing resembling an American wrestling style match that Kenny Omega's had with someone other than Christian Cage. Did we get a collar and elbow tie-up?
I think we did, yes.
We did, and I would say it's probably Omega's best one he's done.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm saying I think Omega is actually learning a little bit, which is the weirdest thing. I didn't think about that. But there's one move of his that bothers me every time he does it. And it's that dive over the top.
The Terminator dive.
He's going to bean somebody in the face and break a jaw. Or his leg. Whichever comes first.
Yeah.
It's at the point where he's got to either rein that in or figure out some other way to do it. Did we get it? We got another Tope Suicida in this matchup, bringing our total count on the night to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not as bad as we've seen in the past. I honestly thought it was going to be more than that.
It's funny, the Kenny Omega-isms and the Young Buck-isms were very much toned down on this show.
Yeah. And just to kind of side note on the collar and elbow tie-up, it was 4 for 9 on the main show. But you take out the 2 meaningless tag matches, the no disqualification tag matches, and the fight between Punk and Eddie Kingston, and that brings it down to 4 out of 6 prospective. That's not terrible.
Agreed.
That's not terrible at all. They are refining certain things on this show, and I do appreciate them doing such. We get more juice from Page.
Mm-hmm. Which Skyler complained about that earlier in his notes, and I will say, I don't think that Adam Page gigged. He gigged on that episode of Dynamite where he got hit in the head with a camera. I think Kenny Omega, when he was biting him, quote unquote, I think he just opened it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a gig. So yeah. I don't think he was actually trying to get blood everywhere.
No, I don't think so too. And then I loved this buckshot lariat ref bump.
Oh, me too. It was brutal.
That was classic pro wrestling, though, and that's what surprised me. This was as much of classic pro wrestling I've ever seen Kenny Omega do.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I really am giving, this wasn't my favorite match because it was very much an interesting matchup. You know, I could normally don't like Omega matches in general just because of the way he works, but this one was probably the most palatable of recent memory. And Kenny's throwing punches. Did you notice Kenny was throwing punches? Not his garbage forearms. He was throwing somewhat garbage punches. They don't look great, but they're punches. I won't get mad at a guy throwing punches. I just wish he'd tighten them up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fair.
I loved Adam Page's comeback, "You dumb motherfucker" line. And then, what did you think about this finish?
Okay. I personally liked it because when the Young Bucks came out... Well, before we even get to that, let's back up just a second. When Don Callis interfered with the belt, I like that he didn't get it. He didn't get the belt shot, that the babyface caught him. And say what you want about Don Callis. The way he sold Adam Page's punch was over the top in a good way, in my opinion. I like that he was just dropped by it.
Yeah. No, I've never knocked Don Callis, the worker. Specifically the person I have a problem with.
Yes, the person can go fuck himself, but as a worker, he's fine.
What he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Young Bucks come out, and since Adam Page is a former friend of theirs, they didn't just run in and try to cost them the match. I liked that they didn't need to be there, but if the idea is they're planting seeds to get Kenny Omega out of the Elite and have Adam Cole take over as leader, then I would say this was the right thing to do. Because you did see, and another thing, like one of the Bucks gave Adam Page the nod, the go ahead and finish him before Adam Page beat him with the buckshot lariat, which I thought was interesting.
After Page hit him with a one-winged angel, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah, and again, and another thing, I loved that whoever it was, I think it was Jim Ross, and I hope it wasn't Excalibur because I don't want to give Excalibur credit. Someone said that when Adam Page stole the one-winged angel and Kenny Omega kicked out of it, someone on commentary said, well, maybe that just goes to show that no one can deliver that move quite like Kenny Omega can because no one has kicked out of it. It was JR?
That was JR.
I love that line because it goes to show that just because you're using someone else's move, that doesn't mean you can use it the same way they can.
That's right. And it was, and honestly, and speaking of the one-winged angel, I genuinely expected that whoever was going to beat Omega for this belt was going to kick out of the one-winged angel. I much prefer the fact he never hit it.
I honestly agree.
I like, if there's one thing I really like about Kenny Omega, it's the mythology behind the one-winged angel.
Oh, yeah.
That nobody has kicked out of it when he's been able to hit it. He doesn't always.
Yeah, and sometimes he hit it.
He's able to hit it, it finishes the match.
And sometimes he hits it too close to the ropes, and they get the ropes.
Yep.
So no one's ever kicked out, which is great.
And I like that. And that's why I liked it. I also liked Tony Schiavone when the Bucks came in going, oh, dipshit alert.
Yeah, I like that too.
I was like, all right, that was funny.
And going back a little bit, there was one part of the match where Hangman Page did a spinning clothesline and Omega bumped backwards off of it. That was so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I loved that.
And like you mentioned with the Bucks, okay, here's another concession I'm going to make. Skyler's going to kill me after listening to this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
He really is. Because here's what I'm going to give credit to the Young Bucks for something. And that's something I know. You know more than anybody else.
Am I hearing this correctly?
I've been very critical. Yes, you are. This finish intrigued me. Just for the fact that there was that slight little nod. There wasn't the interference, but we're out there. And then that kind of look of like, we really don't like this. We're still, we still don't really like you, Adam. But, do what this is a moment. Do what you got to do. This moment was interesting just given. I don't watch any of their garbage YouTube show or any of that stuff.
Me either.
But that little moment, for as much as I have seen of AEW, that little moment was more storytelling than the Bucks do in any of their matches.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
that I can appreciate. I can appreciate that because that makes me interested as to what the reasons were they didn't interfere.
And can I tell you something else that I loved about this finish?
They got the hell out of there when it was over?
Other than that, I love that Hangman Page hit him in the back of the head with it and then turned around. And when he hit Kenny Omega with the second one to the front, Kenny Omega did not do an insane back bump. He crumpled to the ground like he was dead.
Yeah.
That was like the more than he could take. He's in a coma for like the next 3 weeks.
Yep.
I loved that. I loved it.
No, it was the finish of this. Again, the finishes on the night, for the most part, were solid.
Agreed.
This was another solid finish. I really have no complaints about this match. It wasn't my favorite match on the night because I'm all for the fight.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all for fucking Kingston. But I will say that when it comes to wrestling, these guys did a pretty good job.
Agreed. And I love that Hangman Page is the world champion now.
Yep, and we'll see what that means, because that means is Brian Danielson going to turn?
Oh, that's gonna be a good match though.
You know, we're gonna see a lot of interesting things from there. There's only one thing I hated about this thing. One thing. Why? I understand the past of what they've done with Adam Page, but this was the time to break him free from this garbage team. Do not put the Dark Order in with Adam Page. And did you notice the fans reacted less once they were there?
Not gonna lie, I turned the show off after Page won because I was tired, so I did not know that the Dark Order came out.
All the goons came out and hoisted him up like it was Lex Luger in '94 or Bret Hart in WrestleMania 10.
That's lame. It would have been better if they just emptied the entire locker room.
If anybody other than the Dark Order would have been satisfactory.
Yeah. Literally
anybody other than that vacuum of a gimmick.
Yeah.
The actual cancer of a gimmick. And the fans diminished their cheers once the Dark Order showed up.
I absolutely 100% believe it.
Yep. It was a lot more for Adam Page. But that's just, I guess, that was how they wanted to end the show. And I'm happy that Page won the belt. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I just wish they really took the shine off that moment and the end of the pay-per-view by having the Dark Goons out there.
Yeah, that just sounds lame.
Yeah, it was. It honestly was. And it kind of I'll bring to that after we talk about what Skyler had to say. Are you ready?
I am born ready.
I came into this match prepared to hate it. The story they told at this point was choppy, Kenny Omega's gimmick, character work has been ass, and Hangman had been portrayed as a sad drunk. By the end, they got me, if only because they worked a good match and told a good story. I hate Kenny Omega because all he does is goofy shit to build a story that proceeds to wrestle a good match. I suppose Kenny wanted to get Hangman over, but I wish Kenny were serious during his entire reign and didn't do dumb shit like the barbed wire death match to take me out of it. Completely agree. Oh, no, here we go. I had written off Hangman as being a sad drunk that was not go on to make it.
Oh, my. Skyler, why is this your new thing? Why is this your gimmick? I'm not even going to lie. This is the worst gimmick Skyler's ever come up with.
His stuff with the Dark Order was concerning, but Page's promos since return and attitude, notwithstanding dressing up as Marshmallow Men, have been serious.
Why'd this Hangman walk out on the horse?
I like horse. That's my horse.
That horse was supposed to be supper. I hungry.
And I cannot deny either man as athletes, especially true in Omega's case, given the number of nagging injuries he's had to his shoulders and neck. Omega needs time off, and this is the perfect send-off. See, Charlotte and Ty Conte, Hangman just showed you how to do a fucking moonsault. Of course, the table didn't break when Page jumped off the ring post onto the floor outside. I am the table. Ref bump and Callis getting down shenanigans. Must give credit to Aubrey Edwards, who ran to the ring like a mad woman to count for Paige's deadeye, which I do also give her credit for as well. That was way better time than anything WWE has ever done with that kind of thing.
Oh, I agree.
She got her ass down there right on time. Omega's punches suck because he clearly goes for the top of Paige's hair, then a shitty knee that misses Paige's face. Come on, Omega, I was praising you. Do not ruin this with shit offense. Omega did kicks that missed Paige's heads, and Paige just lays him out with a clothesline that would have made JBL proud.
Well, he didn't do a fall-away slam that JBL invented.
That's right. The Jacksons come out because, of course, they did. At least they didn't figure into the decision. Also, Paige didn't kick out of the One-Winged Angel because Omega... Jesus Christ.
We're tired, ladies and gentlemen.
It's been a long show. Because Omega never hit him with it. Interesting. But Heyman Page is the world champion and Cowboy shit is here and the Dark Order is here. Fuck. All right. Let's go into the final thoughts. Why don't you start with Skyler's and then we'll talk about
ours.
All right,
we will start with Skyler's. Final thoughts. This is an extremely hard show to grade. We had 3 particularly good matches with Miro versus Brian, Punk versus Kingston, and Omega versus Page. Well, we also had Darby versus MJF, so I would argue 4 particularly good matches on this show. Based on those matches, I would give AEW a remarkably high grade because that is more good matches than what WWE does. Agreed. But AEW just does trivial things all night that piss me off and makes it so I cannot support them. Those 2 garbage matches, well, 1 garbage match, of the 6-man and the 10-man especially ruined the show. Not to mention the little things AEW does all night that as listed in the general thoughts, just make me hate this company in the way it is booked. This show has an identity crisis because it very much is a show of a little bit of everything. The hardest part about this show is that to get to the little thing about the main players, the Elite, you must watch Being the Elite and follow everyone's story from the beginning. I just do not have the time for it, and honestly, wrestling should not be that complicated. The people who have stuck by AEW will continue to do so, and the people who hate AEW will continue to do so. I find myself in the middle, that is a lie, wanting to give AEW a chance, but them never going all the way. With that in mind, I give this show a 5 out of 10. If the show did not have 2 multi-man hardcore matches, well, it had 1 good multi-man hardcore match and 1 bad one, so I kind of see the point.
It was a better one. It was a better match.
It was a good match, my man. Cody and Pac versus Andrade and Black, and all the booking choices that annoyed me in the general thoughts wrapped up in the 3-hour-long package. I would be inclined to give this show a 7 or maybe even an 8, but 4 hours of matches with garbage, bullshit, and time-wasting filler does not need to be here. Tony Khan sucks as a booker, and sincerely from the bottom of my heart, fuck you, Tony Khan 5. Anyways, that is it for this review. Thank you for listening to my rumblings. I think you meant ramblings. And I look forward to Survivor Series and NWL Wrestle Festival to show these companies how to fucking book. AEW Full Gear 2021 score, 5 out of 10. And that is the end of that.
So 5 out of 10.
He gave it a 5 out of 10.
Mumbling goannas during that time.
I was wondering, where's this weird robot voice coming from?
Yes. And, well, Skyler, it's interesting. Well, okay, let's now on to you. What is your grade, sir?
Again, as I stated at the outset, I did not think this was as good as All Out, which I believe I gave that show an 8 out of 10. I can't remember. And it was either a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. I did not like the tag team title match. I did not really care for the Pac, Andrade, Cody, Malachi Black match. It felt like a weird filler TV match. And I absolutely hated the Minneapolis street fight. That was just inner circle garbage, and Chris Jericho is losing favor with me. Chris Jericho's so fat that not even Joshua likes him anymore.
Damn.
But everything else on the show I thought was either good or great. I thought that the opener was really good. I thought that Punk and Kingston was fantastic. I thought that Daniel Bryan... Now I'm doing it. I'm so tired.
We all did it. Every one of us did it.
Every one of us did it, so we cannot say a word to JR. Brian Danielson and Miro was really good despite the finish. And my favorite match of the show was the main event. I thought that was fantastic. I'm going to give this show a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a good show, not their best.
Man, you guys always make me split the difference.
I knew that you were going to go with a 6.
Every single time, I end up being right smack dab in between the two of you guys when it comes to AEW reviews. But here's what I'm going to say.
Skyler's once again the bottom boy.
That's right. That's the way he likes it. Right. So first off, this show definitely had high points. But again, the length of these these matches and all of this filler and the lack of respect for moves hurt a lot of it for me. You know, there was a lot of good in this show. There's no disputing that. There was a lot of good in this show. Definitely more consistency as far as the quality of matches, or at least the finishes. Tony Khan has never been a finish guy, but this was probably the best group of finishes he's had, even if the match qualities have not been great. Or were anywhere, they varied. I'll say they varied in style. But one thing that happens with WWE is you get a brilliant finish and then a dumpster finish.
Yeah.
And then another good finish and then a dumpster finish. You don't get this kind of consistency throughout the night that I think you did get on this show. I'm happy Omega's done as champion. And while I'm happy that Omega's done as champion, the more of this, I just long for the days where it was just punches and kicks and the moves were respected. Yeah. I just want the moves to mean more in AEW. That's really my biggest complaint of anything that AEW does. I just wish that the moves meant more. Because then I would have so little to say about them. I could forgive what goes down in those 10-man matches. I could forgive some of the silly stuff if it was half the amount of moves and everyone had moves unique to them that weren't just their finish. And now that's not to say I'm aching for the exact same end sequence like a Shawn Michaels where you get the exact same finish, the exact same way every time, day in and day out for the past 20 years. That's not what I'm asking for. But I'd like, if somebody's doing a moonsault later on in the show and you're on opening match, you're not doing a moonsault. You know, I'd like to see a little more, and this is not just AEW, but AEW is the one guiltiest of it. Of this lack of respect for moves and what people are doing across the rest of the night. There's a reason you don't see anybody else doing a Boston Crab when Chris Jericho's going to use the Walls of Jericho or the Lion Tamer, whatever he calls it. Because that's probably been established. There needs to be more of that. More respect for these moves. But here's also what I'm going to say. This show, in a lot of ways as well, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I mean this as a neutral way. This is the most WWE this AEW program has felt. There's a lot of good WWE things that they have as far as, you know, having some quality matches on the show. And I'm not talking modern WWE. I'm talking about how, like, finishes have some logic to them and there's a clear winner and a clear loser. There's definitely a lot more heels and baby faces than there were before, where it meant nothing, but it needs a little bit more now. But there's a lot of, you know, some of the gimmick stuff was definitely WWE-like, but they are improving. It wasn't their best, like you said, but this is definitely nowhere near their worst show. This was not Revolution.
I gave this show and Revolution the same grade.
You did. And I did not.
I know. You gave that a question mark.
But this one is a 6. They're getting there. There's certain things that they're adjusting, like the collar and elbow tie-ups. There's certain wrestling things they're adding more to, and I want to see them develop more of the good and reduce some of the bad, and then they might actually have a really decent program on their hands.
All right, so Skyler gives it a 5, you give it a 6, I give it a 7.
And that is just the way things roll, but we are 3 hours in.
Dear God. But before we go, I have a question.
Yes.
Survivor Series. Do you think, what is the over-under that this will be better than this show or worse than this show? And keep in mind that this show is WWE's birthday present to me.
I would say specifically because it's your birthday present, it's going to be one of the worst Survivor Series. I think it's going to be an absolute dumpster.
I also agree.
And I can't wait. And you'll get to hear all of us, and hopefully Skyler, because Skyler likes WWE. And you will hopefully hear him and so much more from hopefully the three of us, if not just Skyler and myself, but hopefully the three of us, as we review Survivor Series and get through all of that creamy, thick, gooey sludge that...
I can't wait for the company softball game. What about you guys?
Yeah, seriously. Who wants to see Fox versus NBC? I do.
I do.
Don't forget, it's the one night a year that wrestlers from opposite brands get to wrestle each other, so what a special occasion.
I can't wait to see Peacock versus Pisscock.
Hooray. I'm excited, but what you should be excited for is the merciful end of this podcast.
Yeah, this has been
JoshAgeddon, thank you very much for simulcasting with us here at this Court Martial podcast. It's time to take our first commercial break. Thank you all for listening to this tremendous show, and we will see y'all right after this.
And like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff to both the TAW Gaming channel and to the Court Martial podcast and to CIW Colonial Impact Wrestling. Thank you guys so much for listening to this really long review. And
the Yeet Dream Team.
Wow. My heart just grew 3 sizes. Oh, wait, that was my underwear. What a way to end it.
Don't forget the Yeet Dream Team. Everybody go suck Joshua's titties. We'll
absolutely. And every orifice on my body. And with that, we will end. Good night, everybody.
Hi, Andy.